Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Education meeting. The board has already met in executive session, and we did salute the flag at that time. So if we could have a roll call, Mr. McLaughlin, please.
Mr. Salmon?
Here.
Ms. Schaefer?
Here.
Mrs. White?
Here.
Mrs. McCune?
Here.
Ms. Singh?
Here.
Mrs. Korn?
Here.
Ms. Hira? Okay, she's out. Mr. Markarian?
Here.
Mr. Syatt? Here. Ms. Fox?
Here.
Mrs. Gray?
Here.
Madam President?
Thank you. Again, welcome, everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of Bernards Township. Notice of the time and place of the meeting was provided, and copies of that resolution were forwarded to the official newspapers as designated by the Board of Education and to the Township Clerk, and a copy of the notice was posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education offices. Due to the pandemic, the board expects that in-person attendees to this meeting have completed and passed a self-assessment of personal health, are wearing a face covering, sit in socially distanced manner from members of different households, and maintain social distancing if waiting in line to make a public comment. For members of the public who are unable to attend our meeting in person, there are 2 live stream links of the meeting posted through the district website, www.bernardsboe.com. The 2 links are both airing our meeting. Each simply backs up the other to be prepared for possible technical difficulty. We very much welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during regular meetings that the public is invited to speak. One time is early in the meeting before the board votes, when you may speak about any item that is listed on the agenda. Toward the end of the meeting, there is another public forum to address any matter of public concern related to the schools. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. No participant may speak more than once during a given public comment session. In order to run an efficient meeting and to allow for maximum opportunity for members of the public to speak, the board will limit total public comment for agenda and non-agenda items to 45 minutes each. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. For members of the public who are not attending our meeting in person, public comments may be submitted via email. Please follow these instructions. Starting at 7 p.m., email your comment to btconnect@bernardsboe.com. Use public comment as the email subject or start of your, we're not doing text message, sorry. Indicate your first and last name and address. This is required for your comment to be included. Public comments made in person will be processed first, then comments submitted by email. No public comments sent via email will be accepted before 7 p.m. or after item 19, board forum on the agenda begins. Please understand that public comment portions of our agendas are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather they are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. The board may or may not respond to public comments, and any board responses to public comments will generally be addressed during board forum or during committee reports. However, all comments are considered and will be investigated and addressed as appropriate. Please be courteous and mindful of the rights of others when speaking. Comments may not be abusive, obscene, threatening, or irrelevant. Please understand that students and employees have specific legal and privacy protections. The board is not permitted to respond in public to comments about students and employees. Please also understand that the board will not be responsible for the content of comments made by members of the public. Members of the public are cautioned that they are speaking at their own risk, and any personally directed statements they make may subject them to legal liability to the affected individual. Should the board have to go into executive session at the end of the meeting, we will provide an estimated length of time and whether any action will be taken upon return to the public session. With that, we are up to our student representative. Gordon, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, and good evening, everybody. With Christmas and the New Year fast approaching, Ridge has truly embraced the holiday spirit. As students tie up loose ends for their well-deserved holiday break, the hallways of Ridge buzz with excitement and anticipation. With the energy of the holidays, Ridge students have once again showed the diversity of our talents. The Ridge forensics team attended several national tournaments over the past few weeks, placing champions in many speech and debate events, including congressional debate, declamation, and Lincoln Douglas. The team also showed its hospitality by simultaneously hosting the Ridge Debates, which included 200 competitors from around the United States. Additionally, many other clubs, such as Academic League and the Ridge Business Club, have started to run their own competitions, contests, and fundraisers, engaging the student body in an excellent manner. A huge congratulations to the coaches, students, and parents of all of these teams for their continued success both in and out of competition. Not to be outdone, the Ridge sports teams have accumulated an equally impressive list of honors thus far. The Ridge swim team competed in several highly competitive meets, with many Ridge swimmers achieving personal bests, meet first places, and meet MVPs. The Ridge cheerleading team has officially claimed the title of regional champion and will seek to maintain their streak at the high school nationals tournament. Additionally, many other sports are just beginning to compete in their season. We congratulate all of our teams on such a strong start and wish them the best of luck as they continue to train and compete over the next few months. The student government has also been busy with their holiday preparations. In addition to hosting a productive meeting with members of the administration, the student government is hosting a friendly volleyball tournament this Thursday to boost school spirit and encourage friendly competition. As 2022 nears, the Ridge student body wishes everyone a happy holiday and a healthy, successful new year. Regardless of how you celebrate these next few days, we hope that you enjoy the holiday cheer and return ready to make 2022 the best year yet. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Gordon. As always, we appreciate your energy and enthusiasm and the completeness of what you share with us. Does anyone have any questions? Any board members have any questions for Gordon? Well, then we hope you have a wonderful and relaxing break. And as always, you're not required to stay, but you're most welcome to.
Thank you so much. And to everyone, again, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a board presentation, but just before that, I want to say we have such a nice full house tonight. I just want to say welcome to everyone. It's nice to see so many folks in the audience. We appreciate you coming out here at a busy time of year and a slightly crazy time of year, and in our country. So with that, let's welcome Mr. Hank Werner, our Director of School Safety and Security, and I think the board's going to go down into the audience. Sorry, didn't mean to move away from the mic.
Can you folks hear okay with the mic? Yeah. All right. Good evening. Like I was introduced, my name's Hank Werner, Director of School Safety and Security. Welcome. For some of you, this will be a refresher. For some of you, this might be the first time you've heard some of the safety measures we've talked about. I am a retired police officer from Burns Township Police. I did 24 years there, and I did 4 years at other departments. I taught DARE here in the district for 18 years. I was a school resource officer at William Anna Middle School and became a school specialist, safety specialist upon retirement. Some of the security plans we'll talk about, we're not going to give out, or I'm not going to give out a lot of information. It's intentional because a lot of the stuff we do in the schools, we like to keep close to ourselves. We don't want to get safety measures out there. If at the end you have any questions, we're not going to have a question and answer session. So if at the end there's any questions or anything you want to come up with, my email's there. I'm easy to get in contact with, and feel free to email me. For the teachers in the room, your safety is utmost importance to me, and so is your students. My brother's a school teacher in California, 4th grade, and so I take it home with me. It's personal. So if any of you have an issue in your classroom, reach out to me. Any questions, comments, I'll come to your classroom. If you ask nicely, I'll bring a cup of coffee or something, and we can chat about safety and security in your classroom specifically. At the high school, Detective Chris Albanese is assigned here as the school resource officer, which the school resource officer program started in 1999, September, and the first one was, at the time, Detective Mike Voorhees. We created a vestibule area in the main entrance of Ridge High. Sitting behind the bank teller window is Officer Dave Molina. Dave is a retired police officer from Raritan Borough. He's very valuable here. He's a uniformed police officer, and they wear a special patch. Dave Molina assists us in the morning and the afternoon with traffic. He checks the vestibule area when people come in to get checked in, to get through the door. He'll walk the building occasionally during the day when he gets a break from one of the monitors they were working. And he's just all out and about the building all day. He's at the front door a lot, and he's a Special 3 with the Burns Township Police Department. We have a campus monitor that's been with us for the 4 years that I've been here. Sean Kiernan's his name. He knows the building probably better than most of us. He puts about 6 miles on a day walking the building, and he monitors the camera system so he can see what's going on. He can figure out what's going on, what took place, yesterday or the day before. He can go back and figure it out. The camera system's valuable, very valuable to us. On top of Sean, we have 8 hall monitors that we hired this year, and they walk the building too, and they have assigned areas that they'll be responsible for. They make sure that the doors are secure, the exterior doors. That's a main priority, obviously, is to secure all the exterior doors. They do many things for us too. They'll assist at lunchtime. They will assist with traffic in the morning or in the afternoon, and they'll give Dave that break I talked about from the vestibule. So they'll check people in and operate the check-in system. Officer Phil Jacina, who is here today. Phil's in the back. Go ahead, you can applaud for him. He's the William Anna Middle School SRO, police officer in Burns Township, and Phil's just a great guy. Phil, thanks for coming out tonight, supporting. We also have another officer running around somewhere tonight. Sly, I think it is. Yeah. Both Phil and Chris will support the elementary schools. So one has the William Anna and one has Ridge High, but they both will assist in the elementary schools as needed. They're just a phone call away. They will handle any cases that are going on there with any special needs or whatnot. The secured vestibule area that I talked about, you have to get buzzed in. All 6 schools have it. You have to be buzzed in the first door, and then there at many of the schools will be a bin or something that you could drop your child's needs at. If you forgot the lunch or their music or their athletic supplies, you can drop them in that secured vestibule area. If you want to enter the building, you have to go, this is at the high school, you have to go check in with Officer Molina, and he'll check you in through the lobby guard system. And that's the only one you're checked in at by a law enforcement officer. Once you get checked in at whatever school you're at, you get a pink lanyard. It's a bright pink lanyard for a reason. The purpose is that as a visitor, when you're walking the building, you stand out. It's pretty obvious that you're a visitor. And if a staff member sees them walking around and they just kind of look lost, they can ask them, what are you doing? Do you need help? Are you lost? Can I help you find whatever classroom you're going to? If there's somebody in the building that is a stranger, they're not wearing a pink lanyard and they don't recognize them, well, that heightens the security, and now you have to ask a few more questions maybe and figure out why they're in there, or maybe they're a substitute or a staff member you're not familiar with, and now you have a new friend. So the pink lanyard is huge, it's bright, and you can't miss it. All schools are equipped with the camera systems, which I talked about a little bit already. All 6 of them have a very nice camera system, and we use them daily. One thing I wanted to touch on about that system that you check in at Ridge High specifically. Lobby guard, we put that together in 19. But September 1st, 2019 to March 13th, when the pandemic hit, we had 3,500 visitors in Ridge High. That's an awful lot of visitors. It's something that we're always trying to minimize, trying to make sure that the appointments are necessary, make sure that the visitors are necessary. From September 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, we had 150 visitors. So that was the height of, last year we had half days here at Ridge High and so on, so there was 150 visitors. This year to date, from September 1st to today, 465. So we're back to kind of normal business, but we're way lower than we were pre-pandemic. It's okay to keep it that way. We're okay to limit the visitors. If you have an appointment or a specific reason, you're welcome. We don't have a wall up at Ridge High. We'd like to have visitors, but we try to minimize as much as possible. Did I miss a slide? So as far as the doors go at the schools, we have exterior doors. They're locked the entire school day. Some of them have a keyless entry that the staff members have the code to, that they can use an app on their phone or something to get in. And those are the exterior doors. We'll leave them locked all day. Interior doors, which is the classroom doors and doors to here, they're secured basically 3 different ways for the most part. Some have a push bar strap, so the door's here. You have a push bar when you exit, so there's a red strap on it. The door's in the locked position. The red strap's on it. If you need to secure that door, pull the red strap, the bar opens, door's secured. Classrooms have magnets, door's secured. You put a magnet to hold the mechanism from going in. And then if there's a reason you need to lock your door, you pull the magnet, door's closed, door's locked. Very easy to do. No keys are necessary. And then there's the lock set. It's just a push button to lock the door. Very simple. So we try to keep it simple and easy. Less hand movements when you're trying to lock a door in a quick reason. The law requires that we have fire drills every month, and that their students are in the building, and then also that we have 1 safety drill per month, which is, there's a few of them that we do, and we alternate them, and we try to keep everybody on their toes with the drills. Announcing the drills has been a very big discussion, and the New Jersey Department of Education's advice is not to announce them. Post-pandemic, moving out of the pandemic, they want us to go back to business as usual, where we're not announcing the drills, kind of, the way you practice for a football game or soccer game or baseball game. You play the way you practice, so not announcing the drills is the way we like to do it moving forward. Certainly, we're not announcing it pre-drills to anybody in the public. We try to limit the teacher's knowledge of it, and no news is good news. So afterwards, we can announce it. We can talk to the kids about it. We talk to the parents. We always have a debriefing after the drills, and we talk about how the drill went, what can we do to improve, what went wrong, where do we need to educate, so on and so forth. So the drills are very valuable, very important. As far as emergency communication goes, external communications are through the school messaging system. We rely a lot on the parents. The parents have to keep the information up to date in Genesis. They have to constantly update it if phones change, addresses change, whatnot, emails change. They can update the students' information. I highly recommend putting the students' cell phones in there, because one day we might need to get a hold of them. We're not tracking them. We're not interested in where they're going. We're not interested in that. We're interested in getting a hold of them if we need to. And so their phone numbers would be very valuable. Internally, we have the PA system in the schools. We have walkie-talkies throughout the buildings. Some teachers have them. Some crisis management team members have them. Some phys ed teachers have them when they go outside the building, they have them, so that they can communicate if they're outside the building, hear what's going on. Classrooms all have the ability to call 911. Thank you to our IT director, Alex, appreciate that. And they all have the ability to call the main office. So as far as 911 goes, they can always contact 911. Every school by law has to have district crisis management teams. So we have a team, it's myself, vice principals from every school building, nurses, the facilities people, some guidance counselors, I can't name them all, but we're all meet once a month, and we hold these meetings to talk about the drills and the plans of the future and what we're doing, what needs to be improved upon. What I've done since I started was got things standardized. I thought it was important that all 6 schools have the same mission, go the same direction, and if anybody's in one school or another school, they can go ahead and do things in that school because it's done the same way in their school. So it's very important that the schools are standardized and we move in the same direction. Annual updates are maintained in the school crisis manuals that are stored in every school and at the Board of Ed office. What families can do to help? To plan for emergencies with your children, simple things like what to do in early dismissal for bad weather, how to get home, emergency situations. I know that my kids were young during 9/11, and after that, we did some family plans at home where they could only go with certain families. So if there was any emergency, we didn't have to look multiple places for them. We knew where they were, and vice versa for the other families. So family plans are important. If there's any kind of smoke detector activation for a fire or whatnot, where do you meet the children outside of your home? We picked a telephone pole out front, down the road a little bit. We thought it'd be a good idea. This telephone pole, this is where we're gonna meet. And that way the kids know it. If they're disorientated, it's dark or late, they're half asleep, they know where to go. So you can find them very easily. As far as weapons go, if you have weapons in your house, obviously keep them secured, keep them away from your children, keep the ammunition maybe separate from your weapons so that weapons don't get in the hands of the wrong person. I know as an officer checking some houses over the years, you go into the master bedroom and there's a gun sitting right on the nightstand. That gun gets put in a drawer and my card gets left and a phone call to follow up on gun safety. So these things do happen. We want to make sure that they don't. We can minimize them. Keep your contact information up to date on Genesis, what I spoke about. If you can, read all the emails that we send home to you. There's a lot of valuable information on there that comes from the board office or myself, and as far as safety and security goes. Follow the school rules. We ask that you do follow school rules. We ask that when you come to Ridge High specifically, because you're going to enter, you have to show your driver's license to enter Ridge High. It goes through the system. So if you come to Ridge High, please bring your driver's license. Or if you don't, they're going to ask you your name, date of birth, and run it manually through the system that way. But it's much quicker if you have your license handy. The other schools, especially the lower schools, elementary schools, they generally know who the parents are. They generally recognize them or on first name basis with them. So just follow the protocols. We'd appreciate it. If you see something, say something. It's very important to report things, strange bags, strange cars. I know as a law enforcement officer over the years, you get a phone call about a suspicious vehicle at the park, and next thing you know, you're solving a burglary, or they're about to do a burglary, or if they weren't there, did you stop a burglary just by making that phone call? So if you see something, say something. It goes a long way to helping law enforcement fight crime and injustice. I put in some resources here that I thought were valuable. The WE tip is the anti-bullying program that we've instituted here a few years ago. The cards were distributed in the schools. I'm not sure if it's been all 6, but we started last week. So by Thursday, all 6 schools should have distributed them. The kids can make an 800 number. If the student, the child, or you give your name, they will hang up with you. They will say, I'm sorry, I can't continue this conversation. You need to call back. And then they have to call back, and and not give their name. It's that anonymous. They don't want it to know who you are. They don't want to know. So they will hang up with you if you do leave your name. Home family resources are some safety, school safety tips. District websites is always a good place to get things for violent prevention on our website. And then Be Smart was about handguns and weapons and stuff like that in the house. If you have weapons and you're not sure what to do, you can certainly contact one of the school resource officers, myself, or on the website's a great valuable tool. So those are some things that you wanted. Again, Hank Werner. My email address is hwerner@bernardsboe.com. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please send me an email, and we can pick it up later that time. Thank you for your attention. Please stay safe and enjoy the holidays. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
Good to go. Thank you very much, Hank. We appreciate your being here tonight. Our next agenda item is the superintendent's report. Mr. Markarian?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few things on the agenda tonight under Superintendent's report. First is our New Jersey CUSAC report for the state. We have to submit our self-assessment. This is the state's system of review that happens with school districts every 3 years. On an annual basis, they have us review ourselves and submit a statement of assurance. And on the third year, we do a self-assessment of our programs. And then they come and do a site visit to review the self-assessment and look at evidence for why we scored ourselves the way that we did. So we have completed the initial self-assessment, reviewed all of our self-assessments with the various Board of Ed committees, and also met with our New Jersey CUSAC committee in-house. So that document needs to be submitted to the state. So that's what the first item is. Second item is a new club at Ridge, and the third item is our HIB report for the month. And finally, we also have to submit to the board our annual code of conduct data and school safety data report for the 2020-21 school year. That's the fourth item.
Thank you, Mr. Markarian. Mr. McLaughlin, can we have a roll call, please? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, could we have a motion, please? Mr. Salmon and Ms. Singh.
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Ms. Singh?
Yes.
Mrs. Korn?
Yes.
Mrs. McCune?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes,
Madam President?
thank you. Mr. Markarian, there was something else you wanted to add?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to also welcome everyone tonight. I see we have a large audience. I know that I already sent out my email to the staff wishing everybody happy holidays with the good luck for the free personal day in the holiday card. So I wanted to mention that, and also that I had sent out sort of good wishes to everyone in the last SOS Express from Friday. But in particular tonight, I see so many staff members out here. I'm just inspired by your attendance at the meeting tonight. Obviously, December 20th is a really busy time, and actually, Ms. Fox was saying to me, I heard we're going to have a lot of teachers tonight. I said, really? It's December 20th. I'm sure everyone's got a lot going on. She said, no, you're going to have a lot of teachers tonight. So just thanks for everybody being here, both from the public and also from the staff. I just had thought that I would take the opportunity with so many people here in person to, again, wish you all well. Thank you for all of the work that you've been doing. I look out at your faces and I think about how much hard work has gone on, not only for parents in their households, but also for all of our staff members working so hard the last almost 2 years now as we've kind of continued through the challenge of COVID. So just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you in person for everything that you've been doing, and also to wish you well over the holiday break.
Our next item is public comment on agenda items. So we invite anyone out here in the audience, if you'd like to come up and make a public comment at the microphone, please come up, state your name and your address, and we ask you to please also record it on the sign-in sheet. Anyone? Okay, seeing no one in the in-person audience, is it Ms. Fox or Mr. Syatt tonight who's looking at the emails? Do we have any email public comment? On agenda items.
So we have one email with questions about the presentation. So I had sort of sent it to Mr. Crute to ask if that should be read or just sent to Mr. Werner. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. That's okay, I know, I just sent it to you.
Yeah, so just by way of explanation, the reason that Mr. Werner had indicated that we would not take questions tonight on the security presentation is just because with respect to some details that we might not want to have on the record for the public in a very public way, just to protect our safety and security plans from any bad actors that might be tuning in. That was the reason why Mr. Werner had explained that we would not be taking questions or comments on the safety and security presentation tonight. But he did provide his email address. I know that he would be more than happy to handle questions individually offline. He'll be happy to respond to any questions. So it's probably most appropriate for the item that we were sent tonight. If it could just be forwarded to Mr. Werner, we'll have him respond in that fashion.
Yeah, I didn't actually see the item, but what I understood from the email that I saw was that it were questions regarding the presentation. So if it's not public comment, but just questions about the presentation, then I think it's appropriate to send it to Mr. Werner for the reasons Mr. Markarian stated.
Thanks again to Mr. Werner and also to our police officers that are here tonight. I've seen a couple of them, and I can tell you that it's just a great team. I know that I'm lucky every day when I have the privilege of working not only with Hank, but also with the local Burns Township Police Department. They answer the bell every time. Phone calls come to me over the weekend, text messages over the weekend. Emergencies come our way through some of our monitoring systems, and regardless of the day, the night, the day of the week, holidays, guys are making house calls in town and just trying to keep everybody safe. So really appreciate Hank's work and the dedication of the Burns Township PD. So thanks, guys, and thanks for the presentation, Hank.
Okay, our next item is the approval of minutes. If we could have a motion, please. Mrs. White and Mr. Salmon. And a roll call, Mr. McLaughlin, please.
Mr. Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Our next item is the Finance Committee report. We have items 1 through 16 for approval. If we could have a motion, please. Ms. Schaefer, and Mrs. White. And then, Mr. Salmon, do you have a report?
Yes.
Thank you.
Finance met on Thursday, December 16th. The first item for discussion was an update about Aramark food service and custodial staffing from Bill Gerichter, who's the president of Advocate, which is the district's consulting company on food service and facilities. The first sub-item was the quarterly assessment of food services. So Mr. Gerichter put forth some information and some data about current sales to date of meals in the district, and not surprisingly, it's substantially down from our pre-COVID levels, which is attributable, obviously, to the limited offerings and the limited facilitation of group lunches in the schools for the beginning of the school year. But those sales numbers are trending upwards. There was also an issue related to the cost of preparation of the meals. Mr. Gerichter and his staff reviewed Aramark's preparation and ordering services and put in place some quality controls to bring those costs down, and they are trending down as well. However, overall, we are likely to have an operating loss this year in the food service component. In terms of custodial staffing, we are down about 2 to 4 custodial positions from our contracted number on a consistent basis. This is happening in all 28 districts that Mr. Gerichter works with. Mr. Gerichter believes the shortage is due to higher wages in other positions, other hourly positions, for example, Amazon, clearance and background checks taking three weeks, for which candidates do not want to wait, and workers leaving the workforce. Despite the shortage, Aramark staff is maintaining our cleaning protocols. Whenever there's a custodian out, the custodians on duty fill in and clean that section of the building, and the sections rotate, so there's never a section of the building that's not being cleaned. The second item for discussion was the annual audit update from Scott Cleland, who's a partner at Wissen Company, the district's auditor. A law was signed that extended the deadline from December 5th to February 5th, 2022 for completing the district's 2021 school year audit. Mr. Cleland reviewed the draft audit with the committee. Mr. Cleland explained that the opinion would be an unmodified clean opinion with one finding necessitating a corrective action plan. Mr. Cleland and Mr. McLaughlin explained that the finding related to 3 invoices from June 2021 that were not marked as received until July 2021 when they were paid. Because the invoices were not marked as received in June 2021, they did not appear as paid from the 2021 school budget, and the corrective action plan is to put controls in place for reviewing year-end opening encumbrances by retaining appropriate staff to facilitate the review. Mr. Cleland stated the district is in sound financial position. Our reserves are prudent. The maintenance reserve is not at the 4% limit. The capital reserve is appropriate given the uncompleted projects listed on the district's long-range facility plan, and the emergency reserve is appropriate for a district our size that is self-insured. The audit will be finalized by the February 5th deadline. The next item for discussion was the Oak Street roof replacement and repair project. The rebid opening is scheduled for January 6, 2022. A pre-bid meeting for interested contractors was held on December 16th. Several contractors picked up bid packets, including 2 contractors that had previously withdrawn bids due to miscalculations in their bids. The last item was a discussion of just an introduction of new staff. Mr. Bill Larkin has started as the new Director of Facilities for the district. Mr. McLaughlin met with Mr. Larkin and John Perrin, the Assistant Directors of Facilities for the district, to review the work order system. Mr. Larkin will be coming to the next Finance Committee meeting to review the work order system and outstanding work orders. The district has retained a part-time Assistant Business Administrator while a full-time candidate is being sought. As far as the items on the agenda, 1 through 3 are standing items. Number 4 is a professional development expense. Number 5 is disposable of Chromebooks. Number 6 is a donation of $16,000 from the Liberty Corner PTO for upgrades to the faculty lounge. Thank you very much to Liberty Corner PTO. Number 7 is a $1,000 grant from Parents as Champions for Healthy Schools, which is going to create stress buster stations located throughout Ridge High School. Number 8 approves the corrective action plan for 2021-22. Number 9 accepts an out-of-district student. Number 10 and 11 are student services. 12 approves training for Oak Street teachers for dealing with for classroom behavior strategies. 13 accepts the draft audit from Wissen Company. 14 appoints bond counsel for refundings that the district is doing to service debt. Number 15 is a settlement, and number 16 is tuition for an out-of-district student.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Salmon? Okay, seeing none. Mr. McLaughlin, can we have a roll call, please?
Salmon,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mrs. White,
Yes.
Ms. Singh,
Yes.
Mrs. Korn,
Yes.
Mrs. McCune,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes.
Madam President.
Thank you. Our next item is the Personnel Committee report. We have items 1 through 27 for approval. If we could have a motion, please. Mrs. McCune and Mr. Salmon. Mrs. McCune, do you have a report?
I do. I actually have two because we had such a long gap between our last meeting and this meeting. So, as usual, there's not a whole lot I can report out from my personnel minutes because it's personnel things. But on the first meeting that we had on November 19th, there were two things that would be of interest to people here. We reviewed the active clubs at the high school. I know that the BTEA leadership has been meeting with Mr. Syatt to get ready to talk about negotiations and stipends. So we had a review at the committee of the process for new clubs being approved. And so we saw that all the clubs are in a Google Doc. The advisors are entering the information about the number of students, the attendance at meetings, the monthly activities, the fundraising, and all of the expenditures associated with the club. And we discussed the process for new clubs when they are forming to explain why they should be a club and what they offer that's new and different from existing clubs, and whether they have long-term potential at the high school. So we basically had this conversation because there's a lot of clubs at Ridge, and it seems like often we have new ones, getting approved, and people ask, well, we just keep adding clubs, and they don't all stick around forever. As the people out here who are advisors to clubs know, they have to be in existence for 3 years first before they're funded, so there's a whole process for that. And we know that some clubs were not as active during COVID because they weren't able to be in person. So we were curious to know what was going on with clubs now and this year when they're able to start doing their normal activities again. So that was an interesting and fun conversation. We also had a conversation at Personnel about World Language Honor Societies. Most high schools, or not most, but a lot of high schools, at least in this area, have honor societies for each world language, and the teachers and students at Ridge are very interested in establishing those for each of the languages. So we talked about that. Ms. Stotler is working with the teachers who are interested in leading those organizations, and she's going to report back to us with more details at our next meeting. But that's very exciting, and I know there's a lot of students and teachers excited about that opportunity. The only other thing from that meeting is also continues into the next meeting's minutes, so I'm going to try to kind of consolidate. At the November meeting, we had a Zoom meeting with another diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant that Mr. Syatt and Ms. Fox and other administrators had met with. This consultant is called Us Squared, right, Mr. Syatt? It always makes me think of U2 because it's US2, but it's Us Squared. It's a large company that works in a number of states. It's been around for 23 years. It does corporate and nonprofit and also education work. So we had a Zoom meeting with the organization, and they explained their different packages that you can sign up for. The package that we were most interested in is similar to what I discussed when we reported about the first consultant, where you do an equity audit, where there are surveys for staff, students, and families, and there is focus groups on different topics, and then you get a report. What we liked about this particular group is that they have follow-up professional development and a lot of resources and support. So the administrators that had met with them really liked the fact that it's like an all-encompassing program where you can continue into the subsequent years with whatever you choose to take advantage of for your district. So we talked with them at that meeting, and board members had some questions about how the focus groups get established, about the different components of the professional development. And so we did ask that they come back and speak to us again at the meeting this month. So this time when they came back, they did a review of what they had gone over with the first time about the different packages. What they call the best package is $40,000. It comes with a town hall meeting. So what is kind of cool is they meet with the leadership and administrators before the town hall meeting to get ideas of what are the main focus areas we're interested in really diving into deeply. And then they hold a it's virtual, a town hall meeting for anyone who wants to attend from the district or the community to learn about what the process is like, and they gather feedback about what those people might be also interested in. And then based on that, they design the surveys for everyone, and they design the focus groups based around the different main themes that came out. So it's very custom made for your district, which is, I think, a really good thing, because districts are very different. Some of the districts I work with are very large districts and there's other districts that only have a high school and they don't have elementary schools. So I think that custom design is a good thing. So we talked to them more and asked some questions about how the whole process works, and what are some of the different topics that districts choose to focus on. I'm trying to find. So the main areas that you can examine in an equity audit is programming, personnel, curriculum, and school and community culture. So all of those are important, but there's different components within each of those, and some districts may want to dive deeper into certain things. I know there's been a lot of questions and discussion here about curriculum, so I'm sure that'll be one of the focus areas, but we're obviously going to examine all of them. So I guess the main good things about this consultant is the follow-up resources and support available. The package that's called the best package comes with the whole audit and the report, which will be presented back out to the Board of Education and to the community, but also it comes with 60 hours of support and work with the administrators and the district during the first year, and then you can decide what to do after that. Depending on the results of your audit and the recommendations, you can design a plan based on that. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. That's the only other thing from that meeting that I can report out on. So do any board members have questions? Ms. White?
Can you just review a couple things? One, the time frame from start to finish in terms of meeting with all the different focus groups, and also can you just go into a little bit, I know students are going to be part of it, parents, but it goes a little bit beyond that, doesn't it? And can you talk about
Sure.
the makeup of some of the focus groups?
Yeah, I mean, I might ask Mr. Syed to jump in. I know the time frame was that as soon as we can get it going, there would be the town hall, because that's important so everyone can learn about what's going to be happening. And then they designed the survey, right? And the surveys, you want to jump in? The
Sure,
surveys
yeah, I'd be
go out
happy to.
next.
Yeah, so from start to finish for that plan that you just reviewed, it's 6 to 8 months, and they do begin with that town hall. And I think what's interesting about the group actually is that they want to really spend some time talking to the different focus groups at the K-5 level, 6, 8, 9, 12, make sure they involve community members, make sure they involve parents, make sure that they involve students, having the principals make connections with the students and include them as well. And then the outcome is presented to the public. So that end of that first phase is really the public presentation from that group to talk about some of their findings. And where it's similar to the first consultant that we looked at is they do give you a lot of choice. At the end of the day, it's really the choice of the district to move in a certain path based on the results or not. You know, it's going to depend on what the outcome really is of the audit. And what was your other question? Does that answer both of you? Yeah, okay.
And one thing I forgot to mention is some districts that we are quite familiar with have used this consultant. I know Watchung Hills is in maybe year 3 of working with them, and they have a lot of good things to say. And they just won an award from New Jersey school boards for their work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So definitely as a group that, you know, we were able to find out pretty much about. Does anyone else have questions, Ms. Korn?
I have a couple questions. One is this something we have to do? Just asking. Is this like a mandated thing? Just asking the question. Is this a mandate from the state? Does this cover something that we're mandated to do from the state?
There is a mandate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, but they don't tell you exactly how you have to go about working on it. I think this is something that we've talked about even prior to that. And so this is something that before, when we came out of the strategic plan, and we started the Bernard's Connect threads, this was a topic that people were very interested in. And there was one meeting before COVID hit, an in-person meeting about diversity and inclusion with Bernard's Connect. So then we, after COVID, moved forward with hiring the consultant.
Right. You know, I've already voiced my concerns about hiring consultants, spending the money when we have all these other concerns, really big concerns with the kids' mental health and stuff. So I'm trying to connect this to, like, we do the tea time. We have
Jen, just pull your microphone a little closer to you so everyone can hear you.
We have like tea time, which is a great program we're starting. We have all our new character education stuff in all the schools that I think cover some of this stuff. And you know how we have like Stephanie like bringing everything together under the castle. So this is on top of that, and what does this add to that we're not doing with this other stuff that we're already doing a lot of, and it's great. I just have questions. I have questions about rabbit holes. I have questions about looking for things that might not be there or might be there, and that when you're hiring someone to find something, what's their incentive to not find something? Do you know what I'm saying? So I just worry a little bit about that. I'm not saying it's bad, it's good. I'm just trying to ask questions I think people might be in the audience might be thinking. It's just sometimes when you read about this happening in other places, it can cause a lot of problems that I would like to nip in the bud before they even got started. I mean, no place is perfect. There's no one who can say that that everything's perfect, but I worry about bringing someone in from outside to find things, to nitpick at things that we'd be able to take care of with our own stuff we're doing already in the school district, which hasn't been back to normal in like 2 years. So I'm just trying to, that's all. Just trying to tie it all together, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think actually it was interesting, the second time that they came back, they talked a lot about strategic planning and tying everything together, and it was interesting because if you look at the strategic plan we did and the different things we said we were going to focus on. We were going to focus on academic, outcomes. We're going to focus on wellness and mental health outcomes. So all of these things are tied in with, inclusion and, equity, because if a kid doesn't feel welcome in their school or, is having a bad experience, then you're not going to get the academic outcomes or the mental health or wellness. So it does all kind of tie together. And I don't know, someone else that was there want to jump in about how it's tied to the strategic plan?
Yeah, I see this as an outgrowth of the plan because we were starting work on it with that first BT Connect meeting where we were hearing from students about this issue, and then we had the report created by the students around this issue. And the other thing that I would mention, it's an interesting thing that you bring up, Ms. White, Ms. Korn, about the group coming in and looking for problems. I think what's kind of interesting about their approach is that they make it really clear that they're going to give us the feedback from the community and from the focus groups and simply give us the raw data and their analysis of it. But they're not really giving us their edu-speak or their lingo. It's really coming from the community, and which I like. It's going to be unedited. We're going to be able to see the raw data, and then we're going to be able to see their analysis of it too. And I think it's a different, approach. But I wouldn't say that they're going to be coming in with some canned, set of answers or responses. It's really what the community and the school district is giving through the different focus groups. But I can certainly understand the questions. They're great questions.
Tim?
I think my main takeaway from it was, yes, like we have all these programs, which are great. It's part of kind of like the feedback system, which is, I think, really important with the focus groups in that they take into account opinions across staff, administration, students, parents, other community members. So I think that's really the most important part in my mind, is that the things that we're doing, they are looking at, and that they might say tea time is a great thing. You make no changes to it whatsoever. Or they might say, listen, we heard about tea time. It sounds like a great program. We had a focus group that had this sort of feedback for tea time and would like to see this sort of programming. So those things could already happen, but I think the focus group just kind of, gives it a little jolt to make it happen. Because that's the rabbit hole that I see sometimes is we initiate programs, not we as a body, but like we in society. We initiate programs and somebody else comes in and then there's a new program and then there's a new program and then there's so many overlapping programs, you don't know what's working and what's not. So I think from this perspective, the idea that I like about it is that the focus groups will give us more information about how those programs that we do have and that we have initiated recently and that we've had for a long time, how they are working in the capacity that we want them to, but also how they are working in the overall scheme of diversity, equity, inclusion. Like, are they working for their particular purpose, and then should the programming change, or should we take something in a different direction, or what we're doing is really working great, so keep up with that. So I think that part of it is absolutely critical to this, bringing in a consultant to do this, to help us with this.
I mean, it's great. No, I don't think it's great, but I understand. Everyone has to know that, like, diversity, equity, inclusion sometimes makes people think of other things. It just opens up a can of worms. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's just the definition is out there, it's like a thing. So I just want to make sure that we're very aware of, that we have control of this, that no one else is coming in and telling us what to do. No one else is coming in and changing what we've set up, because we know our town, like we know our people the best. Outside consultants don't know who we are or don't know.
Yeah, I think the operative word there is we, right? Like, so we think we know what programs the kids, the staff need. We want to hear from the other we, the other half of the we. Is the programs that we have, that we put in place, are they working? Are they working for their particular purpose? Are they working to enforce good character and have kids make right judgments? So I think that's the part that I liked about the program.
Ruchika?
One of the nice things that I liked from the presentation is that that they actually explained that the issues are not issues that they come up with, like the topics that they're going to address. So it's actually going back to what you're saying. The way I understood it was, here's a list of the things that generally you want to touch upon, but at the town forum, everybody in the community has the ability to speak up and say, hey, you know what, this is an issue that we think that we need to address. So it's not just limited to what they suggest or what we suggest, but it could be something that anybody else brings up, and then they will incorporate that into the focus groups and what they're actually studying and examining, which is nice, because it takes into account everybody's input, not just what they think and what the board thinks, but everyone in the community.
Jen, I know you had asked, is this because of the mandate? And, I mean, the fact is that there is a mandate, but that's not what is driving this. And we went back 2 years ago when we met with a number of current students and alum who shared their experiences in district and their experiences of feeling that they were either treated less than or were excluded and didn't feel part of the group, and had really asked for there to be some change and wanted to be involved in it, and then we were hit with the COVID. And so while, yes, we are required to do some things, some of this, we are doing simply because we know it needs to be done, and because the students themselves are asking for help and for change. And for a lot of us that are going to be involved in the process, this is not our area of expertise. And we need somebody who is unbiased, who isn't coming in to say, this is who you are, but rather to say, let's see who you are and what your community feels and thinks, and then we can hand back to you that data and make suggestions, but ultimately you can then go back to whether we do more Burners Connect meetings, but we take the findings to make changes in the areas that we've identified that we want to look into.
Suzanne, go ahead.
I just want to say it's not an either or also. If we do this, it's not taking away from wellness. I mean, the wellness initiatives, somebody mentioned tea time. I mean, tea time, actually, the focus for December is selflessness and gratitude. That doesn't, it's definitely part of the wellness curriculum, but it's not necessarily DEI. I mean, we're trying to get everybody thinking about all these things, but it's not either or. So we're continuing moving forward with wellness as well as this and in conjunction.
And so it's more like so people understand, it's more like when we had those meetings with Gwen, right, as a moderator. It's going to be kind of like that.
Like the strategic plan meetings,
yes.
yeah.
So it's going to be like the strategic planning meeting, except for it's going to be like talking about what people's issues with what's going on, like what they think has to be. Is that? Am I getting that right? Is it
Yeah,
going to be public
it's
meetings like a strategic planning?
The
where we
town
invite
hall is going to
people?
be public. The survey will go
but
to everybody.
it's not going to be
Right.
live though.
No.
But
no.
can it be live?
They-
'Cause I feel like you get better feedback if people can be in there in person doing it.
Yeah, they've always said that they've done it even before COVID, because the way that they do it, because everyone can, like, you could get students, like all kinds of people tune in, they get much better participation. As we kind of found out during COVID, sometimes a lot more people tune in. They don't have to leave their house, but also you can have other people in the community, like anyone who wants to come to it can come to it. And they also said a good thing about having it that way is people can type in their comments and they can capture all of them, because there's never going to be time for everyone to get to say their stuff if you held it in person. So they get all of it captured, and then they can incorporate that, which I guess makes sense, because you could get like a lot of comments, I guess, if a lot of people are interested.
And that was no different from the few that Mr. Syed had us meet with. Their launching was all done through the virtual platform.
Okay, I hate virtuals, I'm just saying. But if that's how they always did it, they must
Yeah,
have it
no,
down
I
to a
thought the same
science.
thing, but like, it's just the level of engagement that you get, like working parents, people that work in the community, like teachers going home after school, like it's just, the level of engagement you get is just so much higher. And that's really what we're looking for, as many opinions and as much input as possible, especially at the early stage, right? When we're formulating kind of like the plan of what we're going to do and what we're going to look at. It's just critical to have as much engagement as we possibly can for that.
Okay, if we don't have any additional questions, we have a motion. So if we could have, we have items 1 through 27, if we could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Ms. Singh?
Yes.
Mrs. Korn?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Mrs. McCune?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President.
Karen, can I just jump in for 1 second? Just to clarify, we didn't just approve, we
just
talked
thinking
about
the
it,
same thing.
but we didn't actually vote on approving the consultant yet. We just are saying that we would like to. So we didn't
Right.
actually vote on that. We were voting on all the other personnel
So, right,
items
so
on
just
the.
for clarity with
Yeah.
every agenda, I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm glad you said that. What is written in the agenda, items 1 through 27, which is clearly stated, is what we just approved,
Which did not include anything on
which did not include anything on the item just discussed regarding the consultant. Okay, so now we're up to the Policy Committee report. We do have one item for first reading, so can we have a motion? Ms. Schaefer and Mr. Salmon. And Mrs. Korn, do you have a report?
I do. I have two from two different, because the 2 weeks just the same. So I'm going to start with the report from November 8th. In our discussion, we talked about CUSAC, which I think Mr. Mercarian covered, that we talked about governance, which is staying on top of policy changes, and we reviewed the CUSAC and found that Burns Township meets or exceeds all the requirements. Also, operations, which is the data collection and information management, and we reviewed the CUSAC and found that Burns Township meets or exceeds all the requirements. We're doing, no, I think we already did this first reading, the safety plan for healthcare settings last time. We're identifying the public employees that are impacted by the medical crisis and identify where the work is happening, which is usually the nurses' offices. The policy is to ensure that nurses' offices in each building comply with the emergency temporary standards set by the state under the Public Employees Workplace Standards, which is PEDOSHS. And a VAC status plan is needed to comply. A hazard assessment form must be produced as part of this new policy. There have been no guidelines shared as to what is expected. Since we are a school and not a medical establishment, they must be created from scratch and are being worked on by the administration. And in first reading today, I think, right, is the sexual harassment of students. And these are revised policy 5751. I'm sorry, the earlier policy was policy 1648.14. That's brand new. The policy and regulation of the U.S. Department of Education finalized Title IX rules that define sexual harassment. The federal regulations have been amended and revised. Our policies and regulations will be replaced to match the updates in the New Jersey Department of Education final rule. The new regulations added 3 roles that need to be designated for sexual harassment cases. One is the investigator, which can be the Title IX coordinator. They would gather all the information and evidence regarding the incident. 2 would be the decision maker, which cannot be the Title IX coordinator or the investigator. The board counsel would fill this role. The decision maker must issue a written determination using the clear and convincing legal standard. This is a higher standard than the preponderance of evidence standard, and considering the seriousness of the subject, deemed by the policy committee to be a more suitable standard. The decision maker would also facilitate a written Q&A between the parties involved. The decision maker would review the questions to make sure they are relevant and appropriate, then share with each party involved. All answers to the questions will also be shared by the decision maker to both parties. The decision maker then reviews the investigator's information and the Q&A information and makes a decision. And then there's an appeal officer who would be the superintendent. These procedures are similar to what we do now, except the decision maker and the Q&A between parties has been added to the policy and regulations. And then there is policy 33462 and policy 4352. They're both regarding sexual harassment. It says once the clear and convincing standard has been chosen for the sexual harassment of students, it then will also apply to these policies concerning staff and support staff. There will be no other changes made to the procedures for these policies. I think last time we did the second reading for the school district's calendar. Did I read that out last time? I think I did, right? Yeah, I read that out last time. And then, did we do the emergency virtual or remote instruction program? Policy 2425, I think we did that last time too, right? That you have to, in the event of a school shutdown, there must be a plan for virtual learning. Schedules, lunches, and digital access for each school, and all schedules are full day. Must be board approved and submitted, and we already did that. Okay. Now I'm going to do the minutes from the, oh no. Where are my other minutes? Okay, they are. I'm going to do the minutes from December 13th. We did a discussion for public participation in board meetings, which is revised, which is policy 0167, and policy 0154.6, which is remote public board meetings during a declared emergency. For policy 0167, it has been amended and updated to reflect the 3-minute public comment that has been used in public board meetings, both live and remote, for the past few years. And now we've been holding in-person board meetings since May 24, 2021. Therefore, starting the meeting on January 24th, 2022, all public comments will also be required to be in person. During the transition period where we moved from remote to in-person meetings, we have continued to allow remote public comment, but now we are going to go back to the old way of doing the board meetings, which we have done previous to the pandemic. The in-person meetings have been found to be safe and successful, therefore remote public comment will no longer apply, starting at that meeting on January 24th. We will continue to live stream the meetings to those who wish to watch from home. And in addition, recordings of the Board of Ed meetings will be posted on the district website. Anyone have any questions?
Okay, if no one has any questions, could we please have a roll call, Mr. McLaughlin?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Ms. Singh?
Yes.
Mrs. Korn?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Mrs. McCune?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Okay, our next item is the Curriculum Committee report. Mrs. White, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. All right. At WAMS, programming and robotics have been merged into a single 8th grade elective. It was decided that it would be beneficial to create a course such as this with flexible learning environments. Previously used Lego kits as well as newly purchased ones are still being used. Students have had a variety of experiences leading up to this course between remote, blended, and in-person learning. Some students are coding using Java and block-based coding on computers, while others are building with kits. Some students have never taken tech ed at WAMS before, while others have. So this fluid approach meets students where they are and gives them a path forward. Anatomy and Physiology is the first science course to run CP and honors levels concurrently at Ridge. It replaced the Project Lead the Way courses and is available now to students in 9th through 12th grade. The course reviews each major system of the body, common ailments of those systems, and treatments of common ailments. It's a much better built course than what we had previously. Honors students have a half period of lab, while CP students do not have the encroachment into a single lunch period. Discussion is ongoing as to what course students should take next. Staffing is always a concern in terms of adding new courses, and the next course may be dictated by who can teach it. Physics courses were revamped as a part of the 5-year cycle. Biology and chemistry had already undergone their cycle revisions. In all levels, the 2016 NJSLS was updated to reflect and align with the 2020 NJSLS, including an emphasis on the secondary standards addressed within career readiness, life literacies, and key skills, as well as in computer and design thinking. Due to changes in AP testing, some units in AP Physics have been eliminated, and pacing has been adjusted so that the September through April units align better to the exam. These topics shifted into AP Physics 2, and a similar adjustment was made. The biggest change in the physics program is the separation of the Great Adventure trip from the curriculum, and it has been eliminated as part of this course. Amusement park projects can still occur in the classroom, but in addition, students are able to explore other projects such as space travel. It was decided that it is more appropriate to make this trip separate from the course, and it will be addressed by the junior class advisors. In the past, not all students attended the trip, while some went multiple times based on enrollment in physics courses in both junior and senior year. Forensic science underwent a similar revision to physics and updated the NJSLS. There are no major changes in the structure of the course. Discussion has begun as to whether it is time to explore the 5 or 6 credit option by having a CP and honors level occur concurrently. Mr. Miziak will look into how this could impact lunch and may address that there currently isn't an honors level science course for seniors who have already taken honors anatomy. CP Environmental Science underwent a similar revision to physics and updated their NJSLS as well. Updates were made to the type of projects in this project-based course. The jigsaw model is most prevalent. All courses at Ridge received time to plan for the implementation of the rotating drop schedule. Projects did not entail any NJSLS revisions. One course in particular needed to be addressed, not so much due to the rotating drop schedule, but rather in response to the remote and blended learning, and that is for the Woods course. Some students had never used the shop tools before as a result of last year's school experiences. Students have been provided with choice boards from which to choose with varying difficulty, enabling staff to meet all student needs regardless of prior exposure. This has really added support to students and addressed varying comfort levels. There was also much curriculum writing for world language over the summer. Almost all staff worked to compensate for any learning loss and to adjust skills that weren't mastered. Teachers began to implement the 2020 World Language Standards and will complete them in the summer of 2022. Textbooks have been phased out and readers have been replaced with authentic text and thoughtful authors. Teachers are continuing to vet books to reflect cultural diversity. At the elementary level, the current curriculum for 4th and 5th grade was adjusted to address fluidity and level appropriateness. Units that had been removed for the 2021 year were reinserted. 6th graders in middle school Spanish should have been the first to have had the language in 4th and 5th grade, but this really didn't happen due to COVID. Therefore, units were adjusted and reinserted. In addition, 8th grade Spanish added a robust pen pal letter unit. Spanish Culture and Society also was updated, and the curriculum was narrowed from 8 to 4 units, 1 for each marking period. Essential questions have been updated as well as relevant topics. There will also be a common assessment for each unit. The World Language Standards for Middle School French were updated from the 2014 standards to the 2020 Standards and Interdisciplinary Connections. Additional learning activities were added to the curricula. French 2 CP and Honors, French 3 CP Honors, and AP French were also updated from the 2014 to 2020 standards. Emphasis on explicit grammar instruction has been replaced with PACE, presentation, attention, co-construction, extension. This is a popular model. Grammar is still a part of the curriculum, but the approach is different. Revisions were also made to all levels of ASL 1 through 4. Rubrics have been revised and authentic resources for each level has been researched. College Board has amped up its resources for AP Italian and AP Latin. Changes to the courses reflect this. Lastly, tomorrow's teacher's creation was aligned to reflect the 2020 career readiness, life literacy, and key skills. There has been ongoing discussion as to how best to support Gen Ed students at WAMS who might need extra support sometimes. At times, these students come through IRNS. They may need intervention to address issues such as struggling with executive functioning. Students can be referred to IRNS by teachers or parents. Some students have been referred to Viking Academy, but there's a group of students at WAMS that need direct instruction. These students have been assessed using the Pearson Executive Functioning Assessment. There is a teacher and a parent component. The assessment provides information of both the student's strengths and weaknesses. As a result of this assessment, a group of students are being pulled one time a week from physical education to receive support for 10 to 12 weeks with an interventionist. One day is not ideal, so Mrs. Orr has been exploring possible options and proposed one such idea. She would like to add an interventionist Monday through Thursday to Homework Club. Students who have been identified in need of support could feasibly receive help 5 times a week if they attended after school. There simply is not enough time in the day without pulling students from other cycle classes to offer help. Mrs. Orr is also looking at a proposal from a consultant who could offer monthly 2-hour training to staff. Dr. Lazovic and Ms. Howarth provided an update on option 2. As previously mentioned, there will not be any additional changes to option 2 for the remainder of the school year. They shared discussions have taken place in regards to the 2022-23 school year, but prefaced no final decisions have been made. Mr. Shello, our athletic director, has surveyed all of his coaches and determined that the average Ridge athlete spends between 11 to 12 hours a week in practice or competition, with 7 hours the low end and 18 the high end. For off-site option 2, a required 300-minute or 5-hour requirement is under consideration and is well within the low end of what athletes engage in weekly. A vetting process is underway, which would make the application to specific organizations easier, as these sites will have agreed to approve on signing off of a student's participation. Students will still be able to apply for option 2 off-site in an organization not on the pre-approved list. In addition, students may be asked to keep a weekly log and complete a project at the end of each marking period as they did this year. An evening for parents and students will be held at Ridge on January 10th at 7 p.m. for Dr. Lazovic will present what is under consideration for all of option 2, and it includes an opportunity for Q&A and feedback. In March or April, the final decision regarding option 2 requirements will be shared in a timely manner that allows students to make any desired changes by the April 8th change of course deadline. Dr. Lazovic also reiterated information shared at the first tea time. All students participated in a special schedule on November 18th. This was the first of several mornings that will be devoted to tea time wellness activities throughout the year. Juniors and seniors had 2 important meetings with their counselors, and that covered junior and senior events. Freshmen and sophomores rotated through 6 central activities: 4 Corners Icebreaker, To Do versus To Be, where students created a list of all their priorities, compared them to others, and then determined what habits and traits could help them succeed at accomplishing their lists. Dissonance and Integrity, where students engaged in an activity designed to help them realize when they experience cognitive dissonance, as well as seeing how frequent these moments were for their peers, helping them know they are not alone. Silent Discussion, which was with students engaged with each other in a silent discussion regarding prompts about living ethically, practicing honesty and integrity, and the pressures of success. To Be Card Reminders, where students reframe their struggles with dissonance with the previous to be list, setting themselves up to better face these challenges in the future. In addition, an explanation of the opportunity period was provided to students. Opportunity periods involves 3 components: 1, study space; 2, support space for teachers and counselors will be available; and 3, connect spaces where students can talk with peers and adults. There will be other tea times, and parents are encouraged to attend. And our next curriculum meeting will be Friday, January 7th.
Any questions for Mrs. White? Okay, our next item is the Wellness Committee report. Ms. Schaefer?
Well, Mrs. White stole a lot of our wellness thunder, but the December meeting minutes were just sent out this morning, and we actually have a correction that'll be going out. So I will report out on January 3rd. However, I did want to draw everyone's attention to something that's happening during December as part of our tea time that we could apply to any students in the district or families or any parents. The Tea Time team worked up a selflessness and gratitude bingo card, which you can find in the December 10th Friday folder on the website of Ridge High School, so anybody can find that. And it just contains some fun ideas of things that students, parents, everyone can do to demonstrate some selflessness and gratitude during December. And things as simple as holding a door for someone, to sorting through clothes and donating what you can, which sounds good to me, or even providing a meal for someone. So there's some great ideas. I encourage you to look on that, and I wanted to just mention it because by the time January comes around, this will be over.
I'm just going to jump on your coattails there and say that I had the opportunity to attend the last evening tea time. No, community brew, sorry. And first of all, kudos to the 3 staff members who I apologize, but I'm not going to be able to recall at this moment, and I didn't write it down. But they did a beautiful job. They have so much energy and enthusiasm for what they're doing, and the work that they put into what they shared with the group of 6 of us, 3 Board of Education, or were there 4 of us? 4 Board of Education members and 2 members of the Municipal Alliance were in attendance. That was it. So I encourage members of the community, families, parents, or just someone who's interested in finding out what it's all about to come and attend the next one. They did a really wonderful job of walking through exactly what they did with students in one of the most recent lessons. And I think it was, really great to see that firsthand. And I do think, and I'd love to hear feedback from parents if they're hearing it, that the kids are enjoying these opportunities.
Just to fill in some of the data, the next brew, which is the parent meeting, anybody can come, is February 15th. And just as a shout out, our 3 wellness coordinators are Mrs. Hoyer, Ms. Dosky, and Ms. McKay.
Thank you so much. Okay, so our next item, Mrs. Corner, Mr. Salmon, do you have anything from Municipal Alliance or SCESC?
We had a Municipal Alliance meeting, but it wasn't very long. I just wanted to mention that they're going to still try to do the Twilight Challenge, which is one of their big fundraisers. It's a race in Pleasant Valley Park, and if you want to put it on your calendar for June 5th, 2022. And it's a great event, and they do really good work with the kids. And but hopefully they're determined to do it. So it'll be June 5th, the Twilight Challenge.
The Somerset County Ed Services Commission did meet. I forgot my notes, so I'll report on at the next meeting. Apologize.
Thank you.
Karen, I have a legislative.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll be really quick because nobody wants to listen to this right now. The Legislative Committee of New Jersey School Boards had a meeting 2 weekends ago, and I will email this document around to the board. It's their advocacy action plan of things that they're going to push for in Trenton. But 2 things of note for our district that are on the list that have been coming up a lot is, one of the things is relief for districts who have been negatively impacted financially by the state health plans that they mandated, which were supposed to help districts, which helped a lot of districts and didn't necessarily help ours. And then the other one that they're pushing really hard for is funding for special education, for it to be fully funded. But I'll email this to everyone so you can see the whole list.
Thank you. With that, we are up to our public comment on non-agenda items. So once again, we invite you to come up to the microphone. Please state your name and your address, and then when you have a moment, sign in. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Melanie Dupuy, 70 Quincy Road. My name is Melanie Dupuy, and I'm the co-president of the Bernards Township Education Association. I have been a teacher at William Annan for the past 16 years, a varsity coach at Ridge for the past 15, and a team leader at Annan for the past 10. I really do mean it when I say that I've always loved working here in Bernards Township. I don't think you'll be surprised to hear that these past 2 years in particular have been incredibly difficult. Teaching and parenting my young children through a pandemic has been one of the hardest things I have ever done. I think I speak for all of our staff when I say that despite those challenges, our shared commitment to teaching and our shared commitment to the students here in Bernards Township has never wavered. Our classroom teachers, instructional aides, therapists, counselors, and nurses have all risen to the challenge, and I am consistently blown away and impressed by their dedication to their students despite tremendous challenges. Because I know firsthand the extent of the staff's hard work and commitment to this district, it was incredibly disheartening to sit and hear such negative and hateful remarks at the last board meeting that demean the professionalism of our staff. There were also remarks that I would characterize as racist and misogynistic that were directed at this district and at you as members of the Board of Education. We are all fortunate that our district is led by members of the Board of Education who stand up against those who seek to divide us. So I want to thank you for speaking out and standing up for civility and respect. Regardless of anyone's political affiliation, educating the children of Bernards Township is and should always be a mission which rises above political disagreements. We will continue to work together with the BOE and the community to support all of our students and their families. I want to conclude my statement by reading an excerpt from a recent article in The Atlantic by David Blight, which I found to be particularly relevant and timely. It reads in part, "Every effective American teacher seeks the trust of society, of parents, and of the young people that they teach. Public education as a whole depends on these bonds of trust. Our divisive politics regarding how to teach children about slavery, race, and other difficult subjects in school has broken that trust. What teachers most need is autonomy, community respect, the right to some creativity within their craft, time to read, and perhaps above all, support for their intellectual lives. Teachers with a passion to improve their game, to embrace professional development opportunities. Come listen to teachers debate the books they read and wrestle with how to create pedagogical stories about both the darkest and most uplifting history. Listen to them figure out the balance in their own classrooms between the heroic and the tragic, between war and peace, as they wrestle with how to teach about the changing character of racism and about the forces of change in history that humans can only hope to withstand, if never control. Come feel their intensity, see them move in and out of the irony of human folly and aspiration as they confront their own assumptions and beliefs. We need to trust the teachers. I want to thank my colleagues for coming out tonight and standing up for civility and respect at public meetings and respect for our profession. I wish all of you on stage and everyone here in the audience a wonderful holiday and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Any additional members of the audience?
Good evening. Lauren Mantuk, 46 Liberty Corner Road, Far Hills. I've been a resident of Basking Ridge for 40 years. I bought my childhood house from my parents, where I'm currently raising my 3 kids. I currently serve on this township's planning board. Before that, the Board of Adjustment. I'm also involved with a top 50 university as a trustee member. I tell you all this not to tell you how old I am, but to express how vested I am in Bernards Township, the township and the school. I know what it takes to be a volunteer. Try to be on the quarry and say the word, I'm sorry, try to be on the planning board and say the word quarry. I get it. I get what it's like to be on the unpopular side of public opinion. Last month at the board meeting, things were said, and the public wasn't given the opportunity to respond to those things. So I'm going to briefly raise some issues that I have now. One of the things that was mentioned at the end of the board meeting was that the only thing us parents should do when we come here is praise the teachers. Now, please make no mistake about it. I absolutely have the utmost respect for teachers. I have a huge gratitude for my kids, for these teachers. But we as parents are allowed to express concerns on what our kids are being taught and how. And for the board to say that the only thing us parents should do when we come here is praise the teachers was inappropriate. The board has to have the students' interests at heart first and foremost. The teachers have organizations to advocate for their interests, as they should. But this board, it's the students. With respect to the comment about district emails are not private, that's just incorrect. Emails sent on a district account are not private. And having been called unethical for asking questions about that email, which we all know I'm talking about, is also inappropriate. Parents are allowed to ask questions. There has to be a dialogue between the parents and the board. I believe a board member mentioned that last month, and I respect that. There has to be a dialogue between the parents and the board. Mr. Salmon, I applaud you. You stuck around last month when everyone else left. Thank you for speaking to the parents and showing us some respect. Ms. Fox, thank you for reaching out and answering some questions about curriculum. The bottom line is, we're all here for one reason, and that's for our kids. And when we have questions, we should at least be able to have a conversation about those questions. I wish you all happy holidays. I'm sure I'll be seeing you all again. Thank you.
I believe most of you know me by now, Kirsten Light, 13 Victoria Drive. I feel as a community we have lost the true meaning of what diversity and inclusion really is. I looked up various definitions and found this one, which I believe truly embodies this sentiment. Diversity is the range of human differences, including but not limited to race, ethnicity, gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, social class, physical ability or attributes, religious or ethical value systems, national origin, and political beliefs. Inclusion is involvement and empowerment where the inherent worth and dignity of all people are recognized. An inclusive environment promotes and sustains a sense of belonging. It values and practices respect for the talents, beliefs, backgrounds, and way of living of its members. I think that it is time that this community embraces this definition. The word racist is now thrown around so freely that its definition should be changed to a person who belongs to a group with an ideology, a different ideology than that of another member. Throughout the last few months, I have seen the ugliest side of our community. I have seen people call me an imbecile and incite violence against me because I don't have the same political beliefs, which resulted in a very serious threat to my personal safety. This was instigated by attacks on my curriculum platform. I have seen members of this community call parents too effing stupid to make decisions on our curriculum. I have seen what people say twisted into something that isn't intended to fit a narrative, I have also seen some of the most beautiful sides of our community. Parents rallied around our children, concerned about their well-being and safety. People reaching out to try to help people in need, whether it is Hurricane Ida relief, helping victims of a house fire, providing meals to our veterans, or collecting money to buy gifts for the boys at Bonnie Bray so that their holidays can be happy. Calling members of the community racist, excluding people that don't have the same beliefs as you may have, does not model the true meaning of diversity of inclusion, and quite frankly, our children see that, and it only serves to push us further and further apart while damaging our children's hearts and minds. So I call upon this community, this board, the administration, and the teachers to do some soul searching during this holiday break and ask yourselves, am I being a model for our children? Am I supporting diversity and inclusion in its truest form? This will be the path forward in 2022 and to help heal our community and set ourselves apart from the rest of the nation. I want to thank you again all for your volunteer service and to the administration for all the hard work that you do. And I want to wish everybody in this room a happy holidays and hope that the holidays that have already occurred were happy as well. And I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thank you very much.
Deirdre Batchelor, 70 Quincy Road. My name is Deirdre Batchelor. I am Melanie's counterpart as the co-president of the Bernards Township Educators Association. I have been a teacher in Bernards Township since 2007, and I currently teach in William Annan and Mount Prospect. As a Spanish teacher, I am constantly striving to help my students reach the language proficiency and cultural awareness levels necessary for them to each become knowledgeable and cooperative citizens in a global society. I work to ensure that my students can advance towards their future as open-minded, responsible, and compassionate individuals who can create positive changes in our world. In Bernards Township, staff have long been provided with training opportunities for many topics over the years related to the annual goals of the entire district. These goals include important topics like health and wellness, technology initiatives for interactive learning environments, fostering safe and healthy learning communities, and reflective teaching practices. Through these district-offered training sessions, and ones we participate in on our own personal time, we continue to learn and grow in order to improve ourselves for our students and our future students. The support from the BTEA, the community, the administrators, and the board members over the past month has demonstrated that all educators should feel empowered to grow professionally in service to our students. Thank you for your time tonight, and thank you to everyone who showed up tonight to support everything that has been on the agenda and anything else that was brought up. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Joshua Lake, 380 South Findlay Avenue. I just wanted to share my thoughts about the situation surrounding the fencing team and the comments made during the prior meeting. I'm aware I don't have all the details, nor do I expect to as an outsider, not being engaged with the fencing team, just being someone who's listening. I am a friend of the president of the fencing board. I was aware she was very frustrated with her discussions with administration and board prior to the meeting, and she planned to address that at that time. The facts and the events that I heard from them presented during the meeting and from the timeline she provided at the meeting was, a former fencing coach had been arrested for allegedly sexually assaulting minors, not here at Ridge, but while being a coach at Ridge, same time frame. A separate coach communicated to the administration there may be need for specialized counseling to support the Ridge fencers. Fencing board inquired with administration about potential for specialized counseling. Captains directly requested specialized counseling several different times. These requests were made to the coaches, athletic director, principal, and counseling department, from my understanding. All these seem, as procedural standpoints, seem like they're proper dialogue, escalation of the issue between the school, the fencing team, and the fencing board. Everything seemed to be, proper in those aspects. During the response, though, there were only 2 responses from the administration and the board. The superintendent acknowledged the response could have been provided with greater depth and speed. The other response was a challenge of the number of emails sent to the Board of Ed in terms of that number of 4 or 13. Sitting up here, maybe it's easy for me to kind of go, is it possible the fencing board president, when stating 13 emails and multiple formal requests, including emails with superintendent, principal, AD, and guidance? I'm not sure, but maybe those emails got lumped together just because I know when we're all sitting here, we view you as one group, not board, admin, separate things, but that's kind of secondary. My other key thoughts were, under what premise were the multiple requests for specialized counseling denied? What circumstances does the administration deem it appropriate to provide specialized counseling? There's no acknowledgement of concern. Why is the only board comment defensive posturing? Where's the concern for the well-being of these girls? They're around this coach at the same time he allegedly committed crimes against other athletes who have the same background and interests. Is it possible, not likely, some of these girls know and compete with these who were assaulted? I can understand why some of the fencers could benefit from having someone with experience to discuss all this with. I do believe everyone here on this stage, in this room, all these parents who spoke up deeply care about all these students, and I don't want to imply otherwise. Fair or not, my assumption is no one really wants to touch the subject, whether it's guidance from legal counsel or just uncomfortable nature of the topic. The silence seemed full of easy excuses. It wasn't directly our girls. Criminal acts were not allegedly committed while performing duties as a Ridge coach. But as every Ridge coach tells our children, they're always represented as a Ridge when they're in public. Okay. All right. Where's the board performing the oversight of administration so the public can see the engagement? I've witnessed full board discussions, 20-minute discussions about snow removal, the track. I love this track team, but I just view this type of situation a little more concerning, a little more troubling. There was nothing. There was no questioning of the administration board asking similar questions I just asked. When's it appropriate for specialized counseling? When's it not? How do we have those standards? Let the public see that. Let us see that due diligence. Let us see that guidance, that we know that you're caring about all the students here. We teach our daughters to speak with strong voice and advocate for themselves. They did in this case. It appears they were rebuffed in their efforts. While an important lesson is they'll not always get what they ask for, it seems to me they deserve a lot better from all of us to know we have their backs and full support. Thank you.
Cindy Wong, 22 Carriage Way. Good evening to Mr. Markarian, members of the board, and my fellow neighbors and residents of the Berners Township. Whatever you are here today after months of lackluster attendance, I hope you all will continue to stay vested in the health and well-being, safety, and education of our children in this community. For the benefit of everyone here, the last few meetings, parents have come in person to continue to ask this board to respond to some of the items you had heard addressed today. Reverting a school bus back to a safer and quieter street instead of a main road, questions about option 2 changes for students, response and action for students who may need support or counseling about the aforementioned fencing instructor who was arrested, whether certain controversial topics are being implemented directly or indirectly through various direct or indirect programs available to teachers. Whether you agree with these matters or not, whatever your opinion is, this is just a small sample of concerns parents of children have raised. Some of these parents have reached out to this board electronically on numerous occasions and finally come to a public meeting because they haven't had a response. As we all understand, there's a process to get things done and procedures in place. Many of the in-person comments from these parents have indicated lack of responses from their emails. I hope the board would be able to better respond to and manage the response expectations of all parents and their constituents in this community in a reasonable time frame in the future. As we all know, the board had communicated at least 3 public communications reactions to the meeting last month, 3 more public responses than to some of the topics I followed up on just now from the last 2 meetings. To be honest, the multiple responses from the board also feels like an attempt to continue to pit our community against each other, as we can see today, to fuel a divide to further whatever agenda is on the table, and at the same time, diverting our attention from what the motive is and trying to pin it on the few parents who actually have continuously come in person to these meetings to advocate for their children and support the parents of all children here on any and all issues. And also, if you don't know, these are the same parents who have publicly, on this mic, also praised and thanked the same board and our educators for the past accomplishments, the challenges they've faced, especially these 2 years. Much more accolades than what many of us can say we have given in public today. We made national headlines because of last month's meeting due to certain perspectives and interpretations of one certain speech. Our community has chosen one person's comment from last month's meeting to represent everyone else, one person who wasn't even stopped by the board to declare their actual address, and how we know whether this person represented anyone here or is vested in this community. I hope everyone actually made the time to watch over the last month's meeting after the opinion headlines came out to really see what was said, and if the members of the community really are as deplorable as all these articles and comments made it seem. It is unfortunate and shameful. It took many of us who came here today because you got a call in the last week to support an agenda, but not the actual concern of the education of the children of our community. It is a shame to see this as a mother of young children, to see how low on priority all of this has been in our community. Even after all that, though, The one thing I know that is we all love our children, and we all want them to grow to be outstanding citizens. We all really need to stay the course and not get distracted by this decisive bickering on both sides and bickering on both sides. Okay, I'm wrapping up. Thank you. I hope as parents, residents, and teachers can really dig deep in our guts to have clear minds and, more importantly, pure intended hearts. It hasn't been pretty for this community during these times. I hope you parents will stay involved and vocal in our community to help establish a strong foundation for our children to build outstanding character, to be outstanding citizens. Our children and the future generations are the ones we need to be better for, and there's too much stake at our end. Thanks.
Annika Forzani, 45 John Drive. First of all, I want to thank the board and the administration and the teachers for helping to keep our kids in school and safe during the challenging 2 years. I'm also sorry about the vitriol that you had to endure in some of the recent meetings. In response to the hateful comments that were made at the last board meeting, not by all, but by some, I understand that the rules don't allow the Board of Ed to restrict who makes comments during the public comment period. However, going forward, I know we can't legally keep people out, but as a community, we do have the ability to disregard inappropriate statements from people outside of our community, knowing that they're simply there to try to inflame and divide, and we can move on. Certainly, no one should stoop down to the level of applauding hateful comments as happened at the last meeting. Second, I feel that too much time is being wasted in these meetings and out of these meetings with people attacking others, sometimes very personally, trying to pin blame on others and trying to divide us. If someone has an issue with something being taught, a concern, needs clarification on a topic, I do not feel that, well, I have found that reaching out to teachers, principals, or superintendents, in my experience, has elicited responses. So I do not see that these issues are not being responded to. I find it's really not productive to have the Board of Ed meetings become an airing of grievances, an attack on individuals, or a political stage. I personally am not very active on social media, but I know there are people spending hours on social media dividing, spreading rumors, blaming, attacking, and I would say please stop. If it's behavior you wouldn't want your child doing, then please don't do it yourself. Please consider shifting all that energy and passion to making a positive difference with many of the great community organizations. Our kids are watching. I know that many of them rewatched parts of the last Board of Ed meeting. I find it an embarrassment, and I also feel it's counterproductive. While we will not always agree, I do believe we can return to a civil discourse as we have in the past. So I would ask the community members, please give it another chance and try reaching out again when you have concerns directly to teachers, not turning it into attacks. Allow our board and administration and teachers to focus on the important issues of keeping our kids in school, supporting their academic and social development, and keeping them safe, rather than on the divisive distractions that have been consuming too much of their time. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tina. I'm in Basking Ridge. I'll write my address on there, but I don't want to say it publicly because this is on, although the last meeting when I went to watch it, you guys made it private. I don't know, does that happen every meeting?
Excuse me, Tina, could you just tell us your full name and put on your mask, please?
Sure,
Thanks.
Tina Stratus. I'm way past 6 feet from you, but I'll do it. Okay.
Other people are using the microphone.
Okay. everyone's here and they're
Excuse me,
talking about
excuse me for
divisiveness.
Excuse me, we have been chastised by the community for not requesting an address. We're asking for your street without your number, please.
Okay, Hillcrest. Everyone's coming up here and they're talking about divisiveness and they're talking about let's get together, let's be civil discourse. Okay? The teachers are here in red. We're not attacking the teachers. You say you want us to trust you. We trust you to teach our children academics. We trust you that when our children, and we are putting the trust that our children are going in that classroom, that you are teaching them English, reading, writing, math, science, that they're going to leave the Basking Ridge school system and be proficient in these things, and that will allow them to be citizens of the world, global society. That is the best way we can help our children, is to make sure that they are prepared academically to participate in this world that we live in. We trust the teachers, but by trusting them, we also as parents have a right to know what our children are being taught in the classroom. And I appreciate the teachers that they want to have training. However, if that training and the ideology that they are putting on our students, the morals, ethics, and values, are not compatible with the ideology and morals, ethics, and values that the parents are teaching at home, then the state has crossed the line. And they have gone too far. Because that is the role of the parent, to instill these morals, ethics, and values on their children. And we have a right to know what that is being taught in the classroom. So we are not against the teachers. We support you. But as parents, and as there are kids, we want to know what they are being told in the classroom. That's all. And when parents come here and have concerns and raise concerns to the Board of Education, they are coming here because they want to be heard. They want their voices heard. And to be told that they're not being responded to, or what they're trying to talk about is irrelevant, belittled, racist, that is not constructive. When someone comes up here and talks, and they talk about sexual harassment or what's happening with the fence coach, and not one teacher claps for that person, that is not us coming together and being united. That is very divisive. And that is a hard thing people, they want to protect their children. They want what's best for their children. And the fact that someone comes up here and nobody claps, and then the last woman comes up here and all of the teachers and everyone's clapping, what are you guys saying? So keep having these Board of Education meetings. Thank you for letting parents come up and express their ideas. Thank you for letting them express their concerns. But please, when they do that, do not start attacking them. Thank you.
Sorry, just wanted to make sure I didn't forget. I wanted to follow up to my comments at the
I'm
last.
sorry, just.
Oh, sorry, Debbie Marcus. I wrote it down, but I didn't say 16 Lafayette Lane.
Thank you.
I do thank the board and the teachers for all the effort and time they are putting into so many issues. I also concur with a lot of the points some people have made about the issues that are chosen to be responded to. I questioned at the last meeting how choices for developmental teacher development were decided and when they were publicized, what the rubric was for approving different groups. At the time, I was told there isn't really a formal methodology. I still encourage you to create one. I attended some of the training that the group offered so I could gain more insight into some issues about which I admit I was not fully informed. I do have a PhD in education administration, so I have some perspective, although not recent experience. I attained the training called Teaching White Privilege Without Saying White Privilege. This course was recommended for the teachers in our district to take from a Bernard's BOE email address. It was the most one-sided dogma of presentation that I had ever attended. There was no thoughtful discussion about the multiple factors involved in current situations. There was a recommendation to teach it starting at the latest 6 years old, and if there was any pushback, they were telling teachers that just say that the students are experiencing cognitive dissonance. They claimed to say we're using critical thinking to let students come to conclusions themselves about the situation or the differences in racial experiences in this country. They put up slides that said things, presented the percentage of women and men and blacks, whites, and Hispanics in various situations. For example, they said in the US, blacks die at a younger age than whites. That's what they present to the kids. That is true. That is a fact. There are a lot of factors that go into that. I am aware that there is a lot of health issues within that community. I'm also aware that some of those health issues are because there's not access to healthy food and other factors, socioeconomic issues as well. However, they are just recommending. This was not only recommended to be taught to the kids, it's already being taught in some of the school districts around us. It's the whites' fault. Right. There was another presentation about the percentage of doctors in each area with a complaint that Asians were overrepresented and that's a problem that we need to fix. There was other presentation about the fact that teachers, 76% of them are female and 79% of them are white, which is disproportionate to the representation in society. Now, yes, that is all true and a fact. Is that a problem that our kids need to deal with? Is it, I mean, we have a precious amount of instructional time and a precious amount of time that our teachers can spend on developmental training. These are such simplistic. Okay. My main question is, we were told there's no critical race theory in our classrooms. How, if we decide to add it, which seemed to be recommended in this email, how is this helpful for student success? Even if we agreed with the premise, I agree. I want to emphasize, I don't understand how it's helpful for our kids to be taught this, to be productive citizens. It was not critical thinking. It is a theory that can be discussed for factors of trying to improve things in policies at the adult level, but I don't see how it could help our kids now. So I again ask how we are choosing which programs we recommend for our teachers, and I encourage us to focus our efforts in areas that will help our children succeed. Thank you.
Hello. So I'm Audrika Chetraj. I'm from 6 Wharton Way. That's where I live. And I graduated last year. I'm actually a 2021 senior, and I've just completed my first semester of college. And I just want to say that I'm thankful that this district not only taught me like math, science, social studies and stuff, but also taught me how to think critically and understand the world better. Like in college, I met all these people that I would not have been able to meet if I had stayed in Basking Ridge. And not only was I able to make a name for myself academically in school, but also start to understand the world more socially. And I think it's very, very important that our school is making that step, or thinking about making a step towards supporting our kids socially and understanding the world better that way. I trust my teachers immensely. I've learned so much from them, not only academically, but again, also socially. And I think it's nice that we're continuing to make that effort to teach our students more diversity and inclusion. And as a student who's now a first year and has gone through this district and learned so much that way, I understand the importance of doing that even more. I do want to say, it is quite difficult. I'm sure it is very difficult for the board to be here and hear how divisive our town is currently. But as a student who has gone through this district, I do want to praise the board for trying to listen to everyone. And I think the consultant program is something that might be beneficial towards the school, because not only do we have these opinions from all these students, teachers, but it's important to also take an objective view. And I again also want to praise any teacher that I've had and any teacher that I haven't had, any teacher that has worked at this district, that has worked to support students academically and socially and help us develop a sense of citizenship in this world and understand how we can become important citizens and better develop the way that our world works. So thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Devin McKeown. I live in Bullion Road. I just wanted to respond to one person who already made a comment here, who basically said that yes, we trust teachers, but also we want to know every single thing you ever say or teach in the classroom. I think that's, I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but also I am a little bit. I think that's comparable to saying, oh, I trust my boyfriend, but also I need to read every single text he ever sends, and I want to know every person he talks to all day long. If we trust our teachers, we have to trust them wholly, and I do personally, because I've had many of them, and they know what they're doing, trust that they have good intentions. They're clearly trying to learn if they're recommending trainings to each other, which, by the way, the email in question was not sent by the Board of Education or anything like that. It was just teachers sharing information that they saw. And, shouldn't we want them to do that? If they have the best interests of our children in mind, the fact that they're taking their personal time to grow and attend these trainings, whether they agree with them or not. I don't know, I would trust that if they sat through a training where something just didn't make sense or it was illogical, that they would be able to recognize that. So, yeah, that's all I want to say.
Anyone else for public comment in person? Ms. Fox, do we have any email?
Yes, we do, Mrs. Gray. And Mr. Crute has approved the original message that was on an agenda item that I will read in the order they came in.
Thank you.
So this is from from Carolyn Gaziano, 17 Manchester Drive. Dear BOE and Mr. Markarian, I am writing today to follow up on previous emails I sent in November. Thank you, Karen Gray, for responding immediately by both email and phone. Karen provided a great deal of information to me personally. However, I believe it is important to give the same information to the public. I had planned to attend tonight's meeting, but now I will not be able to. Therefore, I would appreciate it if you could read and respond to this email at the meeting for the public. Sexual assault of minors has become prevalent in today's society, particularly for student athletes. 1, Is the school district offering specific counseling for students? If so, has this been communicated to students and parents? How? Is it currently available to all students? If not, will it be in the future? 2, has or will the school district offer resources to students and parents on minor abuse prevention? 3, will the school district add professional development or training courses on minor abuse prevention to teachers and coaches? 4, do teachers and coaches have specific rules to adhere to on overnight trips? Is there a manual that can be shared with parents and students before going on overnight trips? Next, Christine Toma, South Maple Avenue. To our Board of Education members, I never thought I would have to say this, but after the last few BOE meetings, it needs to be heard. None of us in the great majority think any of our Board of Education ever ignored, minimized, or encouraged the actions of an accused pedophile. That he is accused of hurting children in another district is horrific, but as it was a criminal investigation, no member of the Bernards Township Board of Education would have been alerted. As one member said, "We found out when you did." The last few meetings were taken up by a few parents insisting on specialized counseling for members of the fencing team. If our district was to pay for specialized counseling for every student who came across an adult who then went on to do something bad somewhere else, well, I think we would be broke. This issue is best left to parents to take care of and address this with their children directly. I was particularly appalled with the comments of a woman who was incensed, outraged even, that the term white privilege turned up in a training manual for teachers. It's comments like hers, along with the videos we are all seeing far too often from other school board meetings, that I find myself thinking yet again, parents are idiots and there is no way I want any of these people to influence my children's schooling in any way. They have no business trying to dictate curriculum. Their ignorance and racism has no place in public education. No, that is better left in the hands of the people who dedicate their careers to education. We are so fortunate that so many of our teachers have advanced degrees. It is a sad reflection of the current cultural and race war going on in this country that right-wing extremists are looking to banish studying fact-based history of slavery and civil rights. Education is meant to challenge ideas and theories and even try to learn from mistakes of the past, and maybe even teach our children how to differentiate between fact-based information and propaganda. And finally, thank you to every member of the board, to our teachers, to the administrative and maintenance staffs. You have had to reinvent the wheel several times this past year and a half. The great majority thanks you for your Herculean efforts. Sherry Nelson, 195 Smoke Rise Road. I have some questions regarding school security. What is the district policy regarding students who make threats of violence against other students? We have a policy in place to immediately suspend students who talk about harming themselves. They have to be cleared by a mental health professional before they can return to school. But when we have students that threaten violence and even go as far as talking about killing other students, an HIB investigation is done instead of treating it like the mental health crisis that it is. Any student who threatens violence should be suspended immediately pending an emergency psych evaluation. If the school administration in Michigan had done that instead of sending a student who was clearly in crisis back to class, all of those people would still be alive today. On December 4th, Mr. Markarian sent an email stating that our school community is committed to utilizing all the mortal resources it has to keep our students safe and well. But our district is not actually using all possible resources to keep students safe. After the Parkland School shooting in February of 2018, the Bernards Township Police Chief recommended that our district hire 6 special law enforcement officers so there would be adequate coverage for all 6 schools in town, but you only hired 1 officer. This past Thursday, the district sent out a message because of the social media threats of nationwide school shootings on Friday. And what did you do to ensure the safety of the students and staff? You had a strong police presence at the schools that day. We all know that this is the best way to protect everyone, and yet we have not provided the amount of officers that our own police chief recommended years ago. We need to hire more officers immediately, and it is time to seriously consider metal detectors as well as change our policy on how we handle students who threaten violence against others. And that is the last public comment, Mrs. Gray.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Before Mr. Markarian attempts to address what he can this evening, I just want to say a couple of things. With regard to the question about the fencing coach and the dialogue about non-responsiveness, efforts were made to respond, and they were not, from board members. I can't speak to who someone might have tried to reach out to, and I do take the point about the 13 to be maybe a collective, and that's fair. But those of us being accosted verbally were only privy to what we saw, and it was the board that was being scolded. So I received the email that precipitated the conversation that Mrs. Gaziano referred to in that recent email public comment. And I invited her to call me, and she did. And I did mention that I tried to do the same with the president of the fencing parents board, and that those attempts to speak with the president were not responded to. So I spoke with Mrs. Gaziano, I guess mistakenly under the impression that she would in fact be in some way working with the Ridge Fencing Board and maybe conveying those the nature of our conversation. I did speak to some of the particulars on, not specifics, but timeline-wise, which I had to get from the administration because the board is not directly involved in these matters. They are handled by the administration or the school building professionals. And the two fencing captains were invited to meet with Dr. Lazovic. He subsequently met with our SACs, that is Student Assistance Counselors. Those counselors were advised of the dialogue between the captains and the principal, and then they were connected together. They had a meeting with it, the students had a meeting with the SACs, and then eventually the SACs met with the entire fencing team. So I don't have the exact dates with me here right now, but suffice it to say that it seems to have been glossed over that any of that happened in any detail. I wasn't present at any of them, nor were any other board members present, but I encourage the public to speak to the people involved because that's how you get the best answer. Someone spoke to that here this evening, and give people a chance to give an answer before assuming that they won't or they didn't or they haven't. I spent an enormous amount of time in the last month responding directly. Many of you probably got some type of email from me responding to individual emails sent by members of the public. We do the very best that we can. We are not professional Board of Education members. We are people with lives and jobs and families. And I know it's hard to believe, and I try not to be sassy, but for God's sakes, do you think we're sitting at home waiting for an email or 45 emails from the public just so that we can compose an individual response? It takes time. Sometimes we have to get information that we don't have at our disposal before we can do so. So they're not always timely. They're certainly not immediate, and we work very hard to do the best that we can, but it's never going to be perfect. And I hope that we can start to realize that we don't have to be perfect to be given credit for trying to do something that is not easy, nor is it, I'm going to stop there. I'm sorry. I have two other things to say. And one is about the comment that was made that the training was recommended, and I think that's a little confusing, and I don't think that it should be left to hang there. Our staff share things with each other. So when I inquired about that email, which I found out through social media about, I asked the question, how does this work? And the answer was, the staff is a family, and anyone who works in a workplace can probably imagine that very readily. As a family, they share things. If they learn about something, they think, hey, maybe my colleagues might be interested in that, and it gets shared. That's a far cry from a recommendation, and I think it's an important distinction. And then, as far as the commenter who spoke about the concerns with what the state may or may not be telling districts that they have to deliver in terms of state standards for curriculum writing, I strongly encourage anyone who has feelings about this that they're not happy with to go to the state and speak to your legislators and get your message across if it's something that you have concerns with. We are bound by a code of ethics, and we can't just change things because someone in the community or many in the community don't like something. It's just not within our purview to do so. So I'm sorry, Mr. Markarian, if you have other things you want to say, I just needed to say those few things.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. So just in general, not close enough? Is that better? Okay. So just in general tonight, just really appreciated everybody's comments and the positive tenor of the dialogue, or at least the comments. So that was really nice. Thank you, everybody, for that. You know, definitely a lot of feelings about wanting to have open conversations and understand what someone may be doing or what may be happening here, there, or elsewhere in a classroom or otherwise. Just really appreciated all the thoughts about that and encourage people to you know, try to go to the source. If you have questions about what might be happening in a classroom, reach out to a teacher, have a conversation with a teacher. It's really the best way to understand. I think we heard a little bit today from the teachers and even from some students who recognize some of the challenging topics that are sometimes taught and are grappled with. And if you really want to understand or have a question about what might be happening in a particular situation, I really think the best thing to do is to start by talking to the teacher because we do live in a complex world and we have challenging issues that the teachers are working hard to try to prepare the students for in a complex society. So it's not simple sometimes, and I know they work hard to really try to challenge the kids and help them to be thinkers. And that's not an easy thing. Let's see here, some specifics. I think Ms. Gray spoke a little bit about the fencing team questions, or comments, I should say. And at this point, I can tell you that I feel very confident that the students know what their resources are and they know that they have counseling resources available to them. And I would say that extends, you know, even beyond the specific situation that has been questioned with regard to fencing. But I also know that the counseling team has a specific triage approach that they take in the counseling suite at Ridge High School, even when a student comes in for any particular issue that they may be concerned about. Just a bunch of folks kind of commented on divisiveness and distraction, and you know, I kind of see that. You know, we have a lot that goes on, and there's a lot going on in the world, and we can kind of get sucked into conversations that sometimes are not particularly productive, and it can be challenging to stay focused. So I appreciated those comments. I also appreciated the comment of, you know, really understanding ideology is what's being talked about or discussed in class consistent with values at home. Those are great questions and really important questions, and that's why it's great to pick up a phone and talk to a teacher to try to understand something if you have a concern. Ms. Gray already talked a little bit about the PD issue, that question of an email that was sent. I think we talked about this a little bit at the last board meeting as well. Certainly, teachers being able to share resources with one another, emailing one another, I think that's pretty commonplace among the schools. I had a little conversation with the principals about it whether it's, looking for colored pencils or a particular classroom supply. Can somebody share this or share that? I'm out of this. Does anybody have that? Here's some training opportunities. I'm checking them out. These seem like commonplace things. I don't think that there's anything wrong with them. I did speak to this issue of how are things formally approved with respect to PD in the district. Obviously, the district has some formal programs that it runs on in-service days. It has formal programs for training of new staff, and annual mandatory required training that occurs with the staff college programs. There's a budget to send staff to conferences. Anything that is involved in school time or school financial resources does have a vetting process. Staff members apply specifically to go to those PD opportunities, and they get reviewed and approved. But as staff members doing training on their own time, not asking for district resources to do them, that's perfectly commonplace. It's not unusual. And I think that any of us that have ever gone to any PD experience know that sometimes they're good, and sometimes we think, oh, I should have gone to something else. And we take away some things, and other times we don't take away anything. And that's up to the professionalism of the staff member to kind of decide if something was worthwhile and they want to bring it back and use it.
Mr. Markarian, but I just had a, but it is not part of our PD at all. It was just recommended by teacher to teacher, and it's not part of our professional development. We have no affiliation with that group or anything.
It was a resource shared from one staff member to another. It's not a resource that we were providing to the teachers.
I just want to, because I feel like that's getting lost in when everyone talks about it, like it's some kind of training we were putting on, that's all.
Yeah, all
Which
PD,
is
all PD
absolutely
that we
not.
pay for is approved in every
It's
finance
approved,
requirement.
right, it's approved
exactly.
through the board. Everything that
the district pays for is approved, right?
And
Correct.
we report out, in wellness reports and I even
Yeah, I'm
reported
just trying to
tonight.
consolidate all that as to, just to make it clear, crystal clear, so we don't have to really talk about it anymore.
Okay. There was a question about, again, some questions about counseling for students, specifically to fencing, as I think that's been answered a couple times. Certainly those opportunities were made very clear to the students. There were some questions about what type of PD the staff gets. Part of the professional development required on an annual basis is designed to target the issue of child abuse and neglect. So annually, the staff members are doing that. With respect to overnight trips, we don't have a lot of overnight trips, but I also don't think we have a specific training about overnight trips. As I said, it's more in general about child abuse and neglect. And finally, there was a question, I think it was the last comment about school security and crisis response. What is the district's policy on that? So the violence prevention policy is actually part of the crisis response policy, which is number 8468. All of the district's policies and procedures are available through the district website if you're interested in looking at policy 8468. It does talk about mental health evaluation in the process of certain analysis of threats, if it's a threat issue. I think that was part of the question. With respect to comments that I posted or wrote about or sent messages about with regard to school safety and security, I was speaking about the resources that we have in play now. The resources that we have in play now we are using fully. Obviously, there is no end to what you might do to change what other resources you add to any effort, whether it's your athletic program, your academic program, or your school security program. Certainly you could consider adding more. I meant to say that we're using the resources that we have at our disposal right now. As we consider next year's budget, maybe there would be different resources added. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so our next agenda item is board forum, and I know several board members have things they'd like to say, but I want to start by reading an email from Lauren Beckman, one of our board members. Dear members of the Board of Education, I am sorry to announce that personal circumstances prevent me from finishing my term as board member on the Bernards Township Board of Education. As such, I will be resigning from my position on the board effective Monday, December 20th, 2021. It was truly an honor to be elected to the board and serve the school district these past 2 years. My best wishes to you all. Sincerely, Lauren Beckman. So I just want to say that we will miss Lauren. You know, God bless her. She came on in January of 2020. She was on the board for about, 9 weeks, and we shut down. So it was a very, very difficult time to join the Board of Education. There couldn't be any in-person training. She really didn't know any of us and didn't really get a lot of opportunities to get to know us. And as any of you who watched on Zoom know, that was not the easiest way to, run meetings. So she did a great job, and we really appreciate her service, and we will miss her, and we wish her well. I know Mrs. McCune wanted to say something, and then, everyone else can go from there.
Yeah, I kind of felt compelled to jump in when you were talking about the code of ethics. I had jotted down a few things because I think of anyone here, I've been at more board meetings than anyone except for maybe Karen Gray, because she started going to board meetings way before I was on the board, and you went to pretty much all of them even before you were on the board. So I don't know who has the record. I just feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding in the community about the role of the board, and I think over time, things have kind of evolved in terms of communication, the way the board communicates. Things are different now than they were when I first came on the board, that's for sure. But we have a code of ethics, which Karen referred to, and part of the code of ethics says that, we're a policy-making body. We don't administer the schools, and we can only respond to things if they come to us through certain channels. So there's a chain of command, and so if you have a question or a concern about your child or about what they're learning in school, you have to start and go through the chain of command, and that applies to us too as parents. We go to the teacher or the staff member, the coach, whoever first, and then if we still have questions, we can go to someone else. We can go to the principal or an administrator or supervisor, on up the chain. And the board really only gets involved if it's gone through the entire chain of command and there's some kind of decision or something that needs to come to the board, which does sometimes happen about individual students. We also have in our code of ethics, we have to keep things confidential, and that applies to things about students, staff members, any kind of pending litigation, ongoing litigation, contract negotiations. There's a big long list of things we can't respond to or answer. And so when someone comes to try to talk to us or comes to a public meeting with certain topics, it's not that we don't want to answer or we don't care about those topics. We can't respond. We're not supposed to, we're not allowed to. So I think that there's, I think a lot of people are expecting a response when they are coming to us. And if you come to us in person, when you see us in town, we'll tell you why we can't respond. We'll say we're not allowed to respond to that. You have to go through the chain of command. We might help direct you to how to do that. But when we're sitting here up on stage, it's not really a back and forth dialogue. So I think that sometimes gets missed. So I think that was really just what I wanted to say. I just wanted to put that out there because we've been getting so much feedback about lack of communication, and a public Board of Education meeting is not an easy way to communicate the way it's structured, obviously, and we've encouraged people to reach out to us individually and also to go through the chain of command when there's topics that need to go through the chain of command. So anyway, that's my spiel. Sorry.
Anyone else?
I'm good?
Yeah, oh yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, let me get my glasses on. So first of all, it's amazing to see all these people here. I mean, even though some left, it was really pretty cool to have a lot of people, a lot of teachers. It was very nice. There's a lot to unpack from what's being said. I want to tell Dr. Marker, she might be the only person who went to that white privilege thing, which, congratulations. I mean, holy crap. Who would even waste their time? But, you know, like, that is like, kudos to you to, you know, learn about it and tell us about it, how awful it was. And for Mr. Lake, who's a neighbor and a friend, I hope that what Mrs. Gray and Mr. McCarran said straightened out some of the misinformation going on about, just about that issue that I really feel like it's hard because you can't answer things from here and talk like that about it. And it bothers me that people think that we don't care. So really, I have a statement to say today regarding me being on the board, and I just want to say, not everyone will agree with what I'm saying. This is not a popularity contest for me. This is something I have to say because I feel so strongly about it. It's something that keeps me awake at night. So it's been an honor, a real honor to serve on the Board of Ed for the last 5 years, and I have the utmost respect and appreciation for everyone here on the dais, and the board members and the administrators alike. I also consider them friends, and I've enjoyed it so much getting to know everyone. They're all great people who truly, truly do care about our kids here on Basking Ridge, and I appreciate that. And I'm not one to mince words or tell you that I think something when I really don't. And we've accomplished many positive things. I mean, since I've been on, it's been great. It's probably the biggest would be like the schedule at the high school, which I'm really proud of, which I think is really successful. Our wellness programs, all things like that, they're awesome. We have great dedicated teachers and staff that have worked super duper hard over the last 2 years. And no one's saying it was easy. It's been difficult, and it's still difficult, which I can't even believe I'm saying that right now. And I want to stress that the events of the board meeting earlier this month had nothing to do with the decision I make regarding my service on the board. Difficult conversations and decisions regarding school matters are something that we signed up for, so that doesn't bother me. I can disagree with friends and neighbors and have healthy, productive discussions, and that's how it's supposed to work. I would never be intimidated or scared off the board. I can take it, I can handle it, and I can empathize. I can really empathize with people who are passionately defend their children while completely disagreeing with the tactics they are employing. Having said that, the reasons I can no longer serve on the board have everything to do with mandates imposed by Governor Murphy, executive orders. And I do implore all those against them to raise their voices in unison and direct it at Trenton and the policies that are affecting our children. The forced masking of children is morally wrong, and in my opinion, akin to child abuse for some of them. It's an unproven tactic that can cause harm. When we blindly implement a medical intervention, we really better be 100% sure that there's no unintended consequences and that it will cause no harm. The masking of children doesn't pass the smell test, in my opinion. It should really be up to the parents for their children and the teachers as well. It should be up to them for themselves. They shouldn't be forced to mask in school either. Whether or not they want to wear a mask. We have vaccines, treatments, and boosters, and tons of natural immunity. It's time to stop forcing our kids to shoulder the responsibility of a disease that is of very little or no danger to them because of our adult fear. It's really not the child's job to keep us adults safe. Although we have different experiences of the virus, this doesn't justify the mask for me. They don't send the message of safety or welcome. They say there's danger here, I'm afraid, stay away, or worse, they send the message to our children and our teachers that they're nothing but disease vectors, and the only place where masks are mandated are schools where the children spend most of their time. Restaurants, bars, sports venues, movies, all open for business with no mandates. But our children and our teachers are forced to wear these masks for 6 to 8 hours a day. I say let's unmask our kids, it's time. 3 school years in nearly 2 years is long. It's long enough. Childhood is finite time. It doesn't go on forever, and we've taken a lot away from them already, and I think we need to give them their life back. I also can't accept the state-sponsored discrimination that's happening. We're discriminating against teachers and parents who have made a personal medical decision that are right for them and or their children. And for that very reason, the fact that they are doing not what the government wants them to do, they are forced to test once a week to stay in school for the teachers, and kids are quarantined for up to 8 days, which was just downgraded from 14. It's wrong. Like testing and quarantining healthy children is not justified or good for their mental health. As of now, we know that the vaccines don't stop the virus. You can still get it and spread it. Therefore, there's no need for the discrimination. Luckily, the vaccines can help prevent severe disease in the vulnerable, which is great news, which people don't talk about more. There's also data beyond a shadow of a doubt that children are almost at no risk for bad outcomes. This is also great news and not talked about. So with vaccines available and all vulnerable people able to get them, there should be no discrimination against those with vaccine hesitancy, either for their children or themselves. No matter what you think of the virus, this kind of discrimination and coercion should scare you. It can be applied to almost anything to create a desired outcome. And I have not even brought up the fact that an entire island of Manhattan is off limits to adults and children who have chosen not to get the shots, which is amazing to me. And it has been argued that there's not enough data from the past 2 years to stop what we're doing. We have to do it out of an abundance of caution. But when's the end game? It was 2 weeks to stop the spread, and it was like, if everyone gets vaccinated, we're good. If the colleges still shut these kids down, they still wear them, and everyone's done everything they've been told to do, and nothing's changed. It actually seems to have gotten worse, which makes me very nervous. And I vehemently disagree that, and counter that, if it's the case that we don't have enough data, then how can we have enough information to put 3 shots into our children in less than 8 months? I can't understand that argument on an intellectual level. If we don't have enough data about the virus, how can we have enough data about the vaccines to trust them? And this is not for everyone. It's everyone's decision to do what they feel comfortable to do, and the discrimination is what bothers me. We talk about mental health and school safety, and we have such wonderful programs we are implementing. But nothing's going to make any difference until our children are allowed to get back to normal school life. The Surgeon General has even come out with an emergency declaration about the dire state of kids' mental health, like the kids are not all right. At school, we have our safety officers, our aides, or our teachers are being forced to be mask police. Pictures being taken of maskless kids and to try to identify them, being sent down to the office or reprimanded for not wearing masks properly. This is like just an unacceptable waste of everyone's time. This doesn't build school spirit or make kids want to be there. The safety officers and teachers should be building kids' trust and creating a fun, nurturing learning environment, which in turn will win kids respect and make them take pride in their school, which then actually makes school a safer place. What we're doing now is like kind of turning kids off, and it's like the last thing we want. And I think Mr. Werner would agree. The more kids are enjoying school, they want to be there, it makes school safer as well. Like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. These tactics haven't worked in the past, and they won't work now, so let's do better for our kids at Ridge. I truly love it here in Basking Ridge. I really do. I love our school, and I love our town. People are kind, generous, and dare I say fun. I mean, these past few years have put too many like fake barriers between people. I say we break down the barriers, stop watching the TV news, get off the phones and social media, maybe go back outside, can reconnect with our neighbors and friends, have boisterous conversations, and look around at our own lives to make the right decisions for ourselves. We don't want to let those who try to divide us win. We are much, much better than that and have much more in common than we think. It will just take some time and patience to get back to the lives we all deserve to live, not at each other, but with each other. So I'm going to ask my friends here up on the board to join me for a farewell drink after the meeting, because I'll probably need it, even if they don't mad at me. I can use it, and the one thing we won't have to do is take a vote or wear a mask. So, Jen out.
I just want to say, we're going to miss you, Jen. Not that we're not going to see you, because I know you're going to be standing right there, so I'm looking forward to seeing you there too. But we're going to miss you. We love you. We've enjoyed serving with you, and we respect your decision, and we know we're going to see you around town and right here.
And these are my opinions. I just want everyone to know that. And I appreciate anyone who doesn't agree, but I have to go on record. Thank you. And I love working with all of you. I really did. I love being on the board. It's just very emotional and hard for me. I'm not a quitter, and I feel like a quitter, but I promised my husband I would resign, and I'm resigning.
So, yes, Gudia.
Jen, thanks for all of the experience that I've gained from you in the last few months. I think it's been really nice to getting to know you, and I'll definitely miss you on the stage, but I'm sure I'll see you there. So,
anytime you want to drop off some snacks, feel free.
Absolutely. I know where to find you. I've been doing a lot of reflecting leading up to today's meeting as well, and I started thinking about why I wanted to be sitting up here as a board member in the first place. I came out here to make a positive change for students and the staff in town. I'm incredibly invested in the wellness and the mental health of our students and staff and our academic excellence, and figuring out how to maintain that in a healthy, sustainable way. I want to be supportive of the teachers and the administration who take care of our kids, but being a parent of 3 little ones, I also wear that hat. So being on the board, I'm definitely an advocate of starting to have those conversations more, dialogues that are open between the parents so everyone feels a little bit more comfortable. We live in an amazing town, and it's because of all of us, the concerned parents, the educated teachers, the astute students, the dynamic administrators, and the diligent law enforcement. It makes me really proud to live here. Lately, though, I think it's been a little bit too much negativity coming our way, and it's been a little bit of a disappointing reality to come to, because I didn't expect that coming onto the board in June. We as a community and board have been having uncomfortable conversations, and I think that's something we need to all keep doing. And we can do this better in a civilized way. You know, it doesn't mean that accusations are just thrown out falsely on social media when people can sit behind a screen and put out negativity out there and manifest all of these false stories, and then everyone believes it. It's not the way to do it. There's many more good people than not in this town, and I think the pandemic has been tough on all of us in very, very different ways. And someone felt the need to come up to me at a Target and yell at me while I was shopping with my kids, which actually happened. I really want to give that person the benefit of the doubt that maybe they had a bad week or a bad day or a bad month or a bad year. But it doesn't make it right or fair. I love hearing the public's opinion. I look forward to public comment at every meeting. I hear you, and it's been eye-opening. As a board, we all like to hear from the public. The good, the bad, so we can help. That's why we're all up here, is just to help. It's been an interesting few months sitting up on this stage. As I look around at everyone's faces up here, I feel very thankful that I've been able to work with all of you. Sometimes we may have differing views, but at the end of the day, we all really, really genuinely care about the kids in this district, as well as the staff. That's our common thread. It's a dedication and a passion that we all really do share, and I think that's what makes the board so dynamic. It's been nice seeing so many community members in the audience today, and I'm really hoping that this is indicative of what the new year brings. So I just wanted to share some thoughts with you guys and say thank you so much and happy holidays to everybody.
Tim?
So first, thank you to Lauren for her service on the board. Thank you to Goodia for her service on the board. I hope she stays engaged. I know it's impossible for you not to be, so we can just count on that. And Ms. Korn, so I remember when I first came out for the board, you came to the podium and came with a lot more thunder than I did, so you were appointed before me, and I'll never let you forget that. But I really remember the kind of the speech that you gave and the emotion that you had. And at that time you were talking about the kids in the middle. How are we helping the kids in the middle? Because I think at that time it was the view, like, you know, it was that the high achievers get the most and the struggling learners get the most attention. And how can we help those kids in the middle? And I can honestly say from that moment before you were on the board watching you to right now, you've had that same passion and enthusiasm for kids, for all kids. And regardless of whether we agree or disagree on anything, that emotion, that constructive way of conveying it has been here the whole time. So I really appreciate that. And I think you've been a good example for other members of the community that are passionate about topics to come on the board and then be part of the entire board process, right? You might have one issue that makes you want to be a board member, and then when you come on the board, you realize how much is involved and how much is here and how many different ways you can help. So I really do appreciate that, and that'll always stick with me. Just two other quick things I wanted to say was, you know, I wish I had like a graph of like my kind of enthusiasm and optimism during a board meeting, because like when Gordon speaks, I'm just, you can't see it because I have a mask, but I'm smiling, and it's just like, I'm sky high, and I just can't wait, and it's always great to hear Gordon speak. And I think everybody, regardless of, you know, even if you're not listening, you kind of have to perk up and listen to what he's saying, because he's so enthusiastic, he's so positive, And it's just so refreshing to hear that. And then, you know, when you have other students and alumni come and speak and say how proud they are of Ridge and how proud they are of their friends, and it's overwhelming and it's so empowering, and it's just so great to hear. So I really love to hear that. And then for some reason, the board meetings generally have devolved a little bit into high static environments. And I'm not sure why that is, because, you know, recently and over my board service and before that, I've gone to, you know, PTO meetings and PEC meetings and BT Connect meetings when we were having them, and then strategic planning. And it was so amicable and kind of unifying. And for some reason, I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's the construct of the meeting, that it's kind of like, you know, public talk, board talk, public talk, you know, like maybe that's what it is, but, and there's less conversation. But at all those meetings, it's so congenial and so constructive. And then for some reason, we come here and there's more static coming from the public, coming from us. Whatever it is, it's just makes it more intense. And I leave the meetings and I'm like, I wish we, you know, could have got somewhere or could respond or something like that. So I haven't cracked the code on that one, but I'm still working on it. So stick with me in 2022 and I might have something for you. The last thing I want to say is kind of what Jen was saying, and it's been so stressful over these past 2 years. I can't even imagine what Lauren thought when she came on the board and kind of like everything shut down. I mean, obviously that was crazy for all of us, but just kind of having to be in an oversight role at that point and being new, I don't even can't imagine what that was like. But I know everyone over the past 2 years has been stretched to their absolute limits. I know it's been incredibly stressful. Kids in school, kids out of school. We don't know what to do, what's right, what's wrong, from a health perspective, from an educational perspective, from a mental health perspective. And I just hope that we can all really, this might sound corny, but like we can all really stick together on this. You know, there is a way out. I think we're on that path, and it's going to take just us kind of doing it together, kids, parents, staff, administration, members of the community, just really taking the village concept. It takes a village, and we have to be that village for the kids. And I really I appreciate everybody's emotion, like Goody was saying, whether it's frustration or something or having a bad day, and everybody's absolutely entitled to that, and now more than ever. And I just hope that if we're having that bad day or there is static in the environment, we can do something to acknowledge it and bring the temperature down and, you know, be more like Gordon and just have somehow turn it into enthusiasm or hope or optimism or positivity. And with that, I'll just say I hope everybody has a chance to get together with loved ones, relax, have some joy over this holiday break and the new year, and recharge and come back at it, because it might be tough when we come back, but there's some light at the end of the rainbow, and if we can hang together and stick to it for a little longer, we'll get there. I know it. So happy holidays to everybody and Happy New Year. Thank you.
And I'm just going to say what I've said to Jen for all along, which is I could always count on you to say exactly what you were thinking and never hold back. And it's really, really appreciated. You know, I don't think that we all always agree and we have different opinions, but the respect that you always have shown goes along with the passion that you feel for, you know, how you look at things. And I think you exemplify what Robin described when she talked about the code of ethics that we sign each year, that we re-up, that, you know, that we may have personal feelings, but you abide by those rules that we had to follow, but within the same time, speaking your piece. And I think that that's really, really, it's so admirable, and you'll be missed. But I'll see you down the road.
So we have 2 items of business left. One, if we could have a motion on the board forum item number 1, Ms. Schaefer and, yeah, I'm sorry, it is on the addendum page. And I'm sorry, Ms. Singh. I wanted to say it, and then I turned my head. And I don't know if the community has or the audience has the addendum, but this board forum item is, each year the board approves board goals. So I'm just going to quickly read them because they aren't too long. The first one is resume work on the Bernards Connect strands as part of the continued strategic planning. The second one is to participate in opportunities to expand on working knowledge of the district. And the third one is make communications to the public more efficient with a focus on the chain of command. So these board goals are proposed and considered, and then, if anyone has any questions or concerns or would like to potentially, propose something else, we can do that, or we can just take a vote. Yes. Ms. Schaefer and Ms. Singh were the first and the second. So does anyone have any comments or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I will ask Mr. McLaughlin for a roll call.
Mr. Salmon.
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mrs. White.
Yes.
Ms. Singh.
Yes.
Mrs. Korn.
Yes.
Okay, good. Ms. Hira.
Yes.
Mrs. McCune.
Yes.
Mrs. Gray.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President.
And then one last item, which is not really an agenda item so much as it's an opportunity to share with the community that those at home and here in the audience that, as you heard tonight, we have 2 resignations from the Board of Education. And we also want to just step through what the process will look like. So something will go up on the website that invites anyone who is interested in applying for the appointments to complete the packet. There's a packet that you can link to, and then it gets sent to our Jen Nicholson, who I think, is that by email now? It used to be in person. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or Mrs. McCune, and we can help with, if someone's interested in applying and wants more information, don't hesitate to reach out, or any of us really. That appointment will, because the January 3rd meeting is a election of officers meeting, we can't do an appointment there, and there wouldn't be enough time to properly advertise anyway, so that appointment will be done at the second meeting in January, which is scheduled for January 24th. I just want to say one more thing. I've very much enjoyed working with you, Gudia, and seeing as we have 2 openings, I hope you'll consider applying for one of them. And anyone else who's out there who's come out before or is interested in coming out for the first time, we hope you'll put in the packet, and we look forward to hearing you on the public meeting on the 24th of January. I just want to wish everyone who's still here with us and everyone at home happy holidays and safe holidays, and enjoy yourselves. Everyone in favor of adjournment? Oh, I'm sorry, can we have a motion? I'm jumping ahead. Ms. White and Mr. Salmon, and now, all in favor? I think that's it.